You are listening to Zen and the Art of Triathlon.
Well, hey there, all you tri freaks and geeks, and welcome to another great episode of Zen and the Art of Triathlon, the podcast where I give you tons of triathlon tips and tricks, and then also a little bit of Zen thrown in to try to help you keep your sanity in the world's most complicated sport. All right, we need to get rolling because we have a bunch of stuff to cover this show. We have some triathlon news. And also we have a fantastic interview with Bruckner Chase, who is an incredible open water swimmer, and also, I don't know when the last time he's done a triathlon per se, but he's done tons and tons of triathlons and ultra running. He's kind of a big deal. So it's really cool having him on the show. And we talk about mindfulness a little bit towards the end of our interview, which is pretty cool. And then also I went to a wedding in Salem, Massachusetts, the witch hunting capital of the universe, it seems like. And that was really cool. I'll cover that a little bit. And then also I give you some tips on how to win with Zen. It is really cool stuff. We'll do that after the Bruckner Chase interview. And also cards and letters, emails from people about all kinds of stuff with some tips on some training, especially fueling mixed in. And then I take you with me on my training log, where I log between 19 and 22 hours per week for 2 weeks. And I talk about fueling and pacing. I blow up. I dig myself into a hole. I come out of it. All that cool stuff, all in one great episode. So let's go ahead and get started with the triathlon news. Here we go. All right, first off, Kona is coming up, the World Championships for Ironman in Kona, Hawaii on October 10th. I imagine it'll be broadcast live. And also there is a cool report that Thorsten Rad writes up every year for the race, and I'm actually quoted in it again this year, where I give my picks for who's going to be top 3 male, female, and also the dark horses. And my write-up is really good. And also, I should say that I picked Miranda Carfrae as a dark horse, not first. So you definitely need to go check this out. It's available for download as a PDF. It's 157 pages, I think. It's crazy, but you want this thing in your hand while you are watching the race. And big props to Thorsten. You can find out more about him at trirating.com. And Rad is spelled R-A-D-D-E. And he's German, so he is meticulous, and the research is fantastic. It's really entertaining read. And yeah, there's a whole half a page in there from ZenTri on my picks, and I'm right below either Lava or Triathlete magazine, and above I Am Talk, and where he placed me in the review. So that's pretty cool. All right, Ironman Chattanooga just the other day was won by the second closest margin ever in Ironman history. There was one, I think in 1990, that was won by 1 second. Well, this one was won by 2 seconds in the men's race. Guy comes running across, and it is a dead sprint at Ironman pace. Ironman Pro end of marathon sprinting, which is, they're doing the best they can. And then 2 seconds later, second place comes across, collapses on the finish line. Third place comes across 8 seconds later, and they bump heads into each other as they both collapse on the ground. And then what I thought was funny is if you watch the video, and the video is all over the internet, it's Ironman Chattanooga race finish 2015. If you Google that, you'll find it. Within 10, 15 seconds, they all managed to reach over and stop their Garmin watches or whatever they're using. I thought they're such triathletes, such type A people. They could be almost dying, but they got to make sure that they log their workout. And let's see, we had Ironman Tahoe, which was a non-pro race, and it happened a couple of weeks ago, but it would seem like you'd almost never know it because they got almost no coverage whatsoever in the triathlon rags and websites and Twitter, and that's no slight against the people that actually did it, but I'm noticing these races I think, was it Lake Placid? These races where Ironman has decided to cut pros out, man, they really shot themselves in the foot because they're getting no publicity because people don't talk about them as much. And I noticed, they had to cancel Ironman Tahoe after a few years. They said, you know what, we're not going to do it anymore. Not enough signups after the other two races. But if you look at the poster child for Ironman Lake Tahoe, which they decided to not have any pros, which burns me, then they put in the in all the race imagery Angela Nath coming out of the water, and Angela Nath is a pro, so you're using a pro to sell the race with, but then you're trying to say, well, we're not going to pay any pros to come, so we don't have to pay any award fees. And it's so two-sided there, or so obvious that pros sell races. You're using a pro in the image of the race, and then you don't want to have to pay pros to come. So, and this is what happens: races get canceled. That's my opinion, and I'm going to run with it. Okay, let's see. Also, I went to a wedding in Salem, Massachusetts, which is home of the Salem witch trials, and it was crazy. It was a triathlete wedding. It was John Hirsch and Christine Lynch, who have both been on this show plenty. I've hung out with a lot. It was an honor to be invited to go to this wedding, and I have to say, there was more hot triathlete bodies at this wedding than I've ever seen at any kind of social function in my entire life. There's, the girls wear like the shoulderless, I don't know what you call it because I'm not a fashion dude, dresses, stuff. There was more ripped muscles and tattoos of just crazy stuff up and down, and people that were just crazy fit. And built into the wedding, if you wanted to, you could go to the trail run and the cyclocross race that went on. That was part of the wedding. The race wasn't part of the wedding, but the wedding party was going to go do the race. And I think there was some more stuff too. A bike ride that was all involved. And this is what happens when John's a pro triathlete, and he's a great coach and everything. So he's got this huge following of athletes and friends. There was a guy there whose nickname was Strong Jesus, and just to give you an idea. And then and John used to be in a punk rock band, and this is out of John lives in New York, and comes from Block Island, and there's this whole northeastern hard punk rock scene that he comes from. And Christine, same kind of thing, super earthy, healthy chick. And she has actually accidentally qualified for her pro card, I think several times by now, and just never took it because she's too busy just running her own business and being healthy and stuff like that. The wedding was crazy. The hotel we stayed in was haunted. Salem is a town north of Boston that's right on the water, surprisingly. I didn't know it was right on the water. That is witch and pirate crazy. And you start going middle September through past October, and that's like their Halloween, Christmas, New Year's, 4th of July, everything all wrapped in one. The entire town seems to celebrate Halloween constantly, all day, all night. There's tours. There's 4 different witch museums, a pirate museum or 2, the graveyard where they buried the people accused of being witches, and the city takes it all very, very seriously and solemnly, but also it's a big celebration of freedom. And then you can hop over. We went over to Boston and did the Independence or the Freedom Trail, where we saw all the things the places where important things happened in American history for the kicking off of the 13 colonies into the United States as we know it today. It was just absolutely amazing. I went over to this wedding knowing I'd probably take 4 days. I brought some running stuff with me, but I trained my ass off because we got the Ultra Baby coming up, my self-supported Ultraman that I'm doing, and I figured I would train hard, super, super hard, so that my 4 days there, I wouldn't be interested in training at all, and I wasn't interested in training at all period, and it worked. And I came back after 5 days, 4 days completely off. So my 5th day, I came back to College Station, got on the bike trainer, and my legs still hurt really, really badly. And I was like, all right, I did it. Smart. If I had any free time during this trip, it was taking a nap. Okay, so that's all the triathlon news, and so that we can get to the Zen and the emails, answering questions and stuff, we need to start talking to Bruckner Chase. Let's go ahead and get started with Bruckner, kind of like a follow-up with last week's podcast with Morgan Christian talking about open water swimming, what it takes, how you do it. We talk about this huge race that he's doing in Australia. So those of you in Oz down under will really enjoy this part. And he's a really big deal. And stay tuned towards the end of it. We start talking about his wife, who is I think he said she's a PhD and does research in neurology and mindfulness training and stuff. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. So here we go. Here is Bruckner Chase.
Welcome to the next level.
Hey man.
Brad, how's it going?
Doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I don't think we didn't have Skype when we talked the first time 5 years ago.
It has. I can't believe it's been 5 years.
Yeah, holy.
And we got so much catching up to do with everything that's going on, and I'm so stoked that you got back in touch with me, man.
Yeah, I was, you're like my guilty pleasure. I'm not in the car much, but I'm listening to the podcast. It's kind of how I keep a finger on the vibe of what's going on in the triathlon ranks, aside from, the athletes we have here. So
yeah,
I was like, man, he's doing so much stuff that's in sync with what we do. I've gotta reach out. And I typed that Twitter thing. It'd been 5 years. I'm like, no way. I feel like I've lived a lifetime since then. You as well, probably.
Yeah, and I follow you on Facebook and Twitter.
But I think you and I are kind of on the same page as far as the vibe we're putting out there. So
yeah, totally.
I'd be happily over on that short list, and we have not hit the ocean together. We haven't hit the water. We haven't met in person. I mean, I was listening to one of your podcasts. Now you're out in San Diego every once in a while. I may finally drift down to Texas on some stuff. So if I'm anywhere in the region, we got to get together.
Yeah, I think maybe on our last podcast together, was it where we figured out that we grew up like really close to each other? Just a little bit different age group. Like you're maybe like 5-10 years older than me or something like that. But did you grow up northeast side of Houston too as well?
No, I went to school at Rice in Houston.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I think that was it. So my triathlon career kind of started in Texas.
Yeah.
I did like the 1984 Houston Triathlon.
Uh-huh.
It's in the Woodlands, College Station, Waco. I don't remember what it was because I was born and raised in Tennessee, but so I'm from the South, originally. So I did not come at this ocean sport thing with the North Shore in my blood. That's for sure.
So what I lived in Tennessee. I lived in Franklin as a kid for a few years.
Nashville or wait, where was Franklin?
Yeah, it's Nashville.
Yeah, Nashville area. Yeah. I was Memphis.
Oh, okay, West Tennessee.
Nashville. Yeah.
Well, you got to Texas as soon as you could. That's like me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, what was the College Station tri like? Because I heard legends of that thing. Like, was it at the A&M pool or did they do Lake Bryan? Do you remember?
I think it was Lake Bryan.
Okay, cool.
I mean, we're talking. There was like a newspaper style magazine that covered races back then called Runner Triathlete News. I don't even know if it's still around.
I remember that, but I don't know if it's still around. I definitely remember it.
Yeah, but there was, all the crew from Austin. There was a huge triathlon contingent from Austin. What was it? Rip Esselstyn was down there. A couple of Canadian athletes that had migrated down to Austin. A guy named Nick Taylor. Who else? Evan Mossman. But there was a crew of us from like Houston area, up by the Woodlands, down in Sugar Land. Big crew in Austin, and a big triathlon camp in College Station that would show up at races. I know when we raced in Waco, it was like a pool race, a lot of these time trial style races in Texas in the early. I mean, I remember doing a run, swim, bike down in Sugar Land, I think, where we jumped into a pool after doing a run, went back and forth for 400 meters, and then hopped out and did a bike ride. I mean, stuff was all over the place.
Wow. I did do, in high school in 1989, I did do a swim meet at the Rice pool.
Yeah.
I came all the way up from Harlingen to come to a big swim meet. Came to civilization from the valley.
Well, that pool was old back then when I was swimming in it. I think they finally replaced it and upgraded it. But that was, I think the only pool that was more dungeon-like than the Rice pool was probably the A&M pool. Yeah,
they finally demolished that thing. That thing was sad.
It was really rough, very rough.
Yeah. Well, awesome, man. So I saw that you're doing this. Okay, well, we talked 5 years ago. Weren't you doing like a swim across Monterey Bay?
Yeah, I think I had just finished swimming across Monterey Bay. I was working with the National Marine Sanctuaries, which is a division of NOAA. There's 14 sanctuaries around the U.S.
By the way, that is so cool, dude.
It was right after swimming across Monterey Bay. I think this was before you and I talked right after that. And then for the next 2 or 3 years, I was doing a lot of stuff with sanctuaries. I went and swam an 8-mile swim from an underwater habitat off the coast of Key Largo in Florida, Key Largo in Florida. Swam back to the mainland across all these, pristine reef areas and where they were doing all this research in this underwater lab. And then from there, I went down to American Samoa. And for the last couple of 3 years, I did a bunch of work in American Samoa, training there, Department of Public Safety, police and fire. We created an open water swim program for their high school in Pongo Pongo, and did a lot of work in some of the villages down there. And then gradually kind of began doing more surf life-saving sports. And so from doing the really long-distance swims only and doing a lot of the lifeguard sports, surf ski racing, paddleboard racing, the U.S. Lifeguard Association races, and now I'm going back down to Australia to do some racing down there in 2 weeks.
So when I was doing the SOS triathlon in it's upstate New York, but in mid-state New York, we stayed at the house, and the wife, the mom that was there, was the national or world champion one year of a life-saving competition. So I can't remember her name. But
this is up in New York, right?
And so, the competition was either held in Australia or Atlantic City. I can't remember. And they have to row out in boats and do all this crazy stuff. It was insane. Like, she was in such amazing shape. It was crazy.
There's a global international life-saving race. I mean, the Australian and New Zealanders just dominate.
Right.
The World Championships take place every other year. There's a professional circuit down in Australia. And then in South Jersey, New York, there's this huge culture of surf life-saving racing. That goes back, almost 100 years from when the first beach patrol was founded in Atlantic City. So there's this huge surf life-saving culture in New York, New Jersey. Some of the oldest beach patrols in the country are along this section of the Atlantic coast, and not California. They were here first.
It was awesome, the photos that she had and the competitions and stuff. It was really neat. So something you got coming up is called the Cooley Gold. What is that?
Yeah, the Coolangatta Gold is a surf life-saving version of the Kona Ironman, basically. It has been around for 30 years. It actually started as a movie, believe it or not. Back in 1984, they wanted to make a movie about surf life-saving in Australia. I mean, it featured 2 kids that were racing underneath their father's guidance, and they were trying to win this big surf life-saving Ironman-style race that included running, surf ski, paddleboard, and swim. It was like a 5 or 6 hour race. Whereas most of the racing they do is 15 to 20 minutes. This was a 5 to 6 hour race off the coast of the Gold Coast in Queensland. And rather than creating, a fake event and just scenes, they actually put on a race. And this race was 1984. The movie was the race was the backdrop for the movie. And then the race has been going on pretty much since then. There were some years that it went away, but it's been back for the last several years. Last year, I became the 5th American in 30 years to complete the race. And I'm going back again in 2 weeks. And it's all offshore or on the beach from Coolangatta up towards Gold Coast. You surf ski, and a surf ski is like a really fast kayak, really narrow, really tippy, but really fast.
Okay.
You don't see much around here. You see a few in California, a lot in Australia. So the race is roughly a 15-mile surf ski, and then a 2-mile run, and then a 2.5-mile swim, and then a 4.5-mile paddleboard race, and then another 5-mile run to finish. And it takes anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, depending upon conditions and what you're up for.
Oh, I just found it, and I'm looking at a map online. So, like this coast, I'm sure it's not facing the right way. But anyway, you start and you swim along the coast, like the coast. Oh, you surf ski with the coast on your left-hand side.
Yeah.
And you go out. This is all in kilometers.
Yeah.
And so you go out 23K, and then you kind of turn around and come back, maybe like 5K or something like that. And then you come ashore, and then you run 1.8K.
Yeah, and it's actually a little bit longer than that. You actually go up over this headland, you climb these really steep hills right after you get out of the water, back down, and then you're along the sand. So it's all in soft sand at the water's edge.
Yeah. And then you head out and like swim a loop real quick.
About a 2.25. So 3.5K is like 2.2 miles or just under an Ironman distance swim.
Dude. Okay. And then you turn, once you get back to shore, you go, what's the 6.1 is another.
That's a paddleboard. So
paddleboard. Awesome, man. Okay, cool.
So a prone, so it's a prone paddleboard, not stand up. And we race on not like the long distance boards, but the 10'6" lifeguard race boards.
Uh-huh.
So you're paddling the whole time. So 6.1K is about 4 miles, a little over 4 miles, 4.5 miles.
Yeah.
And then you come in just past these headlands, drop the board, put on some shoes, and 7.1 kilometer run to the finish, which is probably about 4.5, just under 5 miles, I guess.
Yeah. I'd almost be good at this.
Yeah.
This is like, it really favors like strong upper body swimming types with a little bit of running mixed in.
And it's a lot of skill. I mean, because last year it was some of the worst conditions they've ever had.
Yeah.
30-mile-an-hour winds and 4 to 6 foot swell.
Wow.
And the surf skis probably about a mile offshore.
Yeah.
So you're really getting bounced around a lot. So between the ski and the swim, if you're not really comfortable in really diverse surf conditions and reading the waves and stuff, you're going to have a really long day. And that pretty much happened to me. It was so rough. I think a quarter of the field dropped out last year, including the previous year's winter. It was really tough. I'm hoping for a little bit better conditions this year, but it's such a challenge. I mean, you've got to know the ocean. You've got to know how to pace yourself through all these transitions, back and forth. But it'd been a dream. I mean, I'd known about the race for 30 years and had always wanted to do it. So it was, it's like almost like a bucket list thing, but never imagined doing it. But over the last few years, slowly developed the skill set to do it, and then tapped on the endurance I had from doing triathlons and ultra distance running and all of that, which kind of set it up pretty well, knowing how to go from event to event, figuring out the nutrition and the pacing for such a long distance event.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk to you about that. But first, do you have to qualify for this, or you can put your name in the hat, or how many? The pictures look like it's really popular. Like it's really cool.
It's really popular. It's a kind of an invitation only race. So you have to get. It's mostly Australians. Not a lot of non-Australians get into the race. Mm-hmm. It's pretty selective just because of the equipment and skill set. But anyone can race. You can put in an application. Tell them why you need to be there. You pretty much have to be a professional lifeguard, ocean lifeguard. So you have to, like, I'm a member of the United States Life Saving Association. I race for the Monmouth County national team on the East Coast. So you kind of have to come at the race through, one of your surf life saving agencies.
Yeah.
So while there's a civilian division in Australia, to enter from overseas, you pretty much have to come through a surf life saving agency.
Yeah, and so they're broken down into, there's elite male and elite female, and then under 19 male and female, and then it's broken 20 to 29, 20 to 30 to 39. So like every 10 years, up to 50 plus.
Yeah.
Wow, cool. So you racing elite?
No, I came at this way too late for that. I'm going to race, I'm 49, so I've got one more year in the 40-49 age group. And I got beat pretty badly last year, just was not really ready for the conditions we've got. So I've spent a lot of time this winter working on my skill on the ski. But yeah, those elite guys, it's just scary to watch the Australians go at it. I mean, it's like lining up to some of these elite, marathoners that are winning New York. And it's like, they're going so fast. It's like I couldn't hit that kind of pace for 1 mile running, much less string together 26.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
To see these guys take off on some of these craft and stuff is just unbelievable. I mean, they do stuff through the waves that I remember being down there the first time last year going, there's just no way. I mean, waves are breaking, and they're taking these 20-foot surf skis out through 6-foot waves like it's nothing, and I'm sitting there on shore just cowering, going, I don't know about this.
Yeah. That's like when lining up for a 5K, and then you're like, man, I think I might have a chance, like a small 5K.
Yeah,
I think I might have a chance at being towards the front of this thing, and then within mile 1, somebody's already disappeared over the horizon.
Oh yeah.
You're like, okay, well, I guess we need to recalibrate what my idea of what we're going to do here.
One of the more humbling racing experiences, because we've had pretty diverse endurance backgrounds, from running to triathlon to cycling to swimming, and this was a really kind of humbling experience. It's also really exciting to be completely new at something, be as we get older, to kind of find something that's brand new and have to learn how to put it all together. I mean, I love that challenge of being out of your element.
Yeah.
What's this going to look like? How am I, the whole puzzle of figuring it out, kind of like figuring out, the swim, the bike, the run, the transition. What are you good at? Where do you play your strengths out? Because, the Ironman is very much a thinking event. You've got a lot to analyze and go through. And, that's what I really like about some of the stuff I'm getting into now, because you're fully engaged physically. It's really demanding. But you have to be absolutely aware of every moment mentally. I mean, you're planning everything, and especially in the ocean, there is no power meter on a paddleboard. There's no, you really, there's nothing that's really measuring your progress other than your own perceived exertion and reading
the competition.
And the way
everybody's around you.
Yeah, and everyone's around you, or not around you in some cases. Yeah.
As you learn,
as they leave you behind. Yeah.
Wow. When you get down to Australia, do you have to recalibrate your English to understand their accent for a little bit? Does it take a little while to settle in?
It's a little bit less of a culture shock. When I was in high school, I lived down there for a year as an exchange student.
Oh, okay.
So when I was a junior in high school, I lived in Australia, and then I've been back. This will be my 4th trip back down there. And as soon as I step off the plane, I just smile, because it's just this flood of memories from when I was 16 years old living down there. But it's definitely a switch.
Right.
People look at me like, twice, going, what did you just say? And then I'm doing the same thing. And depending on who I'm talking to, I may have no idea what they're saying.
Yeah.
And there's nothing harder to understand than hanging out with a bunch of Australians at a bar after a race when you've all been drinking a little bit, and I have no idea what they're saying.
I know, right?
Barely hearing it anyway. So yeah.
I remember surfing on the coast at Galveston, and then this guy walks up to me. I'm not going to do the Australian accent correctly, but he's like, I can rent a mall. I'm like, what? And a mall, and threw on my surfing background. I was like, "Oh, longboard." And he looked at me like I was ridiculous, and I was like, "Yeah, over there, you can go get one." Let's talk about nutrition, man. And then after that, let's do like mindset. All the like you've been saying, like getting into kind of like the relaxed and Zen mindset of stuff, and trying to do things with a good perspective. But so, how long are your training sessions for this kind of stuff?
Training sessions for me it's probably not, the duration of training is probably a little bit less than when I used to do Ironman training or ultra distance training. It's probably averaging between 2 to 3 hours a day. And long days, probably pushing closer to like 4 hours or so.
That's still quite a bit. That's very reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not, so it gets tough because right now I'm really in a high volume sort of phase. And then on days off, you'd love this. On days off, where you really just kind of need to work on skill, part of my workout is go out in the surf and surf. Go out and play in the waves and just spend time reading the waves, taking the board out and kind of riding in and out. So days off, the skill development still lands me in the ocean, out there playing around. Yeah, that's great. It actually has a really positive impact on how well I race and stuff. Yeah. So it's about a 3 hour, 2 to 3 hours a day. Most of my workouts combine multiple events. It was interesting last year training for this for the first time, how even adding one event, triathlon, swim, bike, and run. This swim, bike, run, surf ski, and paddle, just adding that fourth event really kind of challenged me to find a way to marry all these together. And really mastering the transitions as well, because there's multiple transitions. You're transitioning to running twice. Right. So almost all of my workouts would combine, going through 2 sports, if not 3. Yeah. So training on the ocean almost all the time. Every time I got off the surf ski, I'd go and run 1 mile or 2 mile just to get my legs that are locked into place on a surf ski used to then switching and running through soft sand, which can be really just be like you're standing still sometimes.
Is the surf ski like it is with triathlon or cycling, where you can just keep sinking money into it to get more speed, or does it kind of top out at $1,000, a couple $1,000, or what?
Tops out at about $4,000.
Okay.
So the surf skis that we use in this are what they call lifeguard spec skis, or spec skis. They cannot be lighter than about 39 pounds, and they cannot be longer than about 19 and a half feet.
Do they have them there so you don't have to bring one or anything, right?
Yeah, I actually... Most of them are manufactured in Australia. In fact, none of these are manufactured in the U.S. So I work with Dolphin Surfcraft, which is based in Australia. Zane Holmes is the owner of the company and also one of the greatest Ironmen ever in Australia. So he designed and built a surf ski. They're custom made for you. So kind of like a custom bike. They're set to your leg length and your size so that you can kind of brace yourself in there from your tailbone to where your heels are kind of locked into the cockpit. So those are, you can make them stiffer by putting carbon fiber in there, but you can't lighten them up a lot because they can't weigh less than this, 39 and a half pounds. Reason being, when we race these in shorter stuff, you're going in and out through the surf. So if you make them too light, they won't hold up to the pounding of like a 4-foot wave breaking. And these are designed, most of the racing on these is in and out through the surf. So, the feeling was if you go too light, they're going to snap and then they become dangerous. And I've actually seen one break in half before where someone was coming in on a wave, the nose dug into the sand and the back of it and literally snapped it in half.
These are cool. I'm looking at pictures of them online. If people want to check them out, I'm looking at surf. Oh my gosh. Holy cow. This must be a race. There's one dude almost on top of like 3 other guys coming in.
Oh yeah.
And decals all along them, like sponsor decals and stuff. Oh, this is cool.
I'm telling you, this would be, you would love this.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have to hit the water together because I've been preaching this, as a way to learn how to get more comfortable in the water.
Yeah.
The fastest craft on the water. I mean, they
This is cool.
They're 7 miles an hour, so it's quick. They're really fast.
Is this guy hydroplane? There's no way. Is this guy hydroplaning? Can you hydroplane on one?
If you're going 7 miles an hour and launch off of a wave, you can get airborne.
This guy's hydroplane. He mounted hydroplanes under it somehow. Anyway, so if people Google,
well, you can go to dolphinsurfcraft.au, I think. Dolphinsurfcraft.com.au. Dolphin Surfcraft is who I work with, and they import boards over to the U.S. But they make some of the state-of-the-art surf skis and boards that we use.
And I'm looking at pictures. I just Googled surf ski kayak.
Yeah.
And then and went over to images. This is crazy. This looks so much fun.
Blast, yeah.
Holy cow. Here's one that's cracked. Somebody smashed it. That's expensive. They're trying to fix it.
They ask what surf skiing's like, and I'm like, it's kind of like it's like if you were trail riding in an earthquake on a unicycle. It's a little bit like that.
Wow, this is neat. They have 2-person ones. No, but they do.
Yes, 2-person. There are tandem surf skis.
They look epically skinny. Like what? Like 2 feet across, maybe 1.5 feet across.
20 inches, about 20 inches wide.
Wow, that's neat, man. When I was at Port Aransas the other day, it was on a podcast a few episodes ago. Yeah, I took out I have a 10-foot longboard, and it's just skinny enough where I can almost use it as a paddleboard, and I put a towel down on the deck. I didn't care if it got wet or not. I put a towel down on the deck as padding, and then just went paddleboarding up and down the shoreline on that thing. It was so much fun because it feels so. I think it was you that taught me this. That if you want to get in some swimming, right, but the water's kind of questionable, you're not really sure if you want to be in it that much and stuff, you can get a paddleboard and it simulates swimming, and you can just swim all over the place. Boats can see you better. You can sit up on it. You can mount fuel to the top of it.
Oh, yeah. It's huge. We started over here. We run in Ocean City. We run an open water swim club, and we now do coach-prone paddleboard workouts because it develops that power phase of your stroke. You spend a lot of time teaching people how to get an early forearm catch and that front 10 or 15%, but then all the power is really kind of as your arm comes up underneath your body, which is really like you experienced the paddleboard stroke. So what you can do is if someone's swimming, when they're lying out on that board, it lines them up, so they've got good body alignment across their torso, spine, head, hips, and shoulders. They develop that power part of their stroke from pulling through, but it also puts their head up above the water. So on their hand entry, their forearm positioning, you can talk to them as they're doing it, and they can watch it as well. And what's also really good with athletes going out into the water is they can learn to read the water. They can see how a little bit of chop impacts them as they're moving across it. They can look for currents. They can learn how to navigate when currents are pushing them one way or the other, and you get to talk to them all at the same time.
Yeah.
But so many people, swimming, once their head's down and they're looking into that, blackness or the muck from a Louisiana bayou or the back bays of Ocean City, this way they can kind of get comfortable going, okay, I know where I am, and this isn't so bad.
Some people built a clear one. That was pretty neat. That looks neat. So let's see. I got another question. Okay, let's talk about nutrition. Yeah. You're very successful at this kind of stuff. What do you eat and look for this? And man, you're talking about this Coolie Gold is going to be intense, right? So are you going to do like simple carbs most of the way, because fat and protein would get stuck in you, I think, if you're going hard enough.
Yeah, it's because it's pretty intense. Even though it's 5 or 6 hours, each segment is, other than the surf ski being about 2 hours long, everything else is like an hour. And you've got to have some explosion to get out through the waves and get in and out. But for me, it's almost a pure carbohydrate fueling during the event. And I stick to about 200 to 300 calories an hour probably. Yeah. But since I'm going down, and it'll be the start of the spring down there, it'll be warm, but not too hot. So electrolytes and, staying hydrated and and having my electrolytes in balance so I'm not cramping up as I switch from sport to sport is really critical for me. And that was really important last year.
Yeah.
They require you on the surf ski because there are no aid stations. So when you push off from shore, you're going to be out there for 2 hours. There is no boat support. There's no aid station. So you're required to carry 100 milliliters of fluid with you in your life jacket, in like a Camelback. And I use Goose brew tabs that don't really have calories, but they're just electrolyte.
Yeah.
So I'll have a Goo pack, which is about 100 calories at the start, and then have this mostly electrolytes for out on the ocean. And then every time I come in through a transition, which is about on the hour, I'll grab another gel pack, Goo gel pack. So it's about 100 calories. Staying away from the caffeine until probably later on, just so I'm getting kind of a good carbohydrate burn, and I'm kind of maintaining. And that gets me through. You figure on the swim, especially with the swim being in the middle, you talk about that in an Ironman race. You start the bike, depending on how long you're out in the swim, at a deficit. You probably haven't drunk or taken any calories.
Yeah,
so this happens in the middle of the race. So you're constantly, as you transition from one sport to the next, trying to down, 8 to 10 ounces of liquid. And I switched to a calorie kind of carbohydrate drink between transitions to get calories in, and knowing that I'm going to develop a little bit of a deficit until I come back to shore and I refuel again. Last year, it took a lot longer than I expected because of the conditions being so rough. But my nutrition was pretty dialed. I was refueling at all the right times, so my energy level stayed well. I just got knocked around by the surf so badly.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but it's about 300 calories, but the fluid and fuel, because it gets hot, especially out on the ocean, is really tough, because it's not like when you're on the bike and you can drink all the time, or on the run where you can grab a flask and you hold it in your hand the whole time. When you're on the surf ski paddling, we actually you actually put a wire on your Camelback tube so you can stiffen it up and have it so it's sticking right there next to your mouth.
Yeah.
So you can turn your head and grab it. Because if you let go of the paddle, all of a sudden now you're not as stable and you're not moving forward.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, wait a minute. So this is like a guy playing a guitar and then has a harmonica mounted in front of his face?
Yeah, exactly like that.
So, okay, this is getting nuts. Now I think we got a better idea of how crazy this is. Okay, so you can't pause to use your hand to put the Camelback to your mouth.
Think of it this way: if the only way to get a drink or a Goo pack on the bike during an Ironman was to use your feet, that's what it's like.
Wow.
So if you stop moving your arms on the paddleboard, on the swim, or on the surf ski, you stop moving forward.
Yeah.
The only thing, and if you want to grab a drink on any of those, you've got to stop.
Yeah.
So you want to minimize that as much as possible, especially on the paddleboard where we were paddling into a 20 to 30 mile an hour wind. If you stop paddling for an instant, you started going backwards.
Wow. Can you draft off the other paddlers?
Yes, you can. Drafting's legal. It's like drafting in the swim. You can tuck in behind somebody, and drafting on the paddleboard, I think, is almost as significant as, or more so than, drafting someone on the bike, because you're moving through this denser medium through the water. And when you tuck into that slipstream coming off the back of their board, you can feel yourself almost get pulled along. It's almost like if you drop your pull buoy in the water after you've gotten out, and you kind of try to pull it towards you by moving your hand in front of it, and you create this kind of suction that pulls it towards you on the wall.
Yeah, it moves.
It's like that. Yeah.
Wow, this is really cool. Okay, I just got an idea of how intense the competition is. That's nuts. I'm also I need to get away from this surf ski kayak porn that I'm looking at. These boats are cool, man.
Like eye candy. It's like, and you know this because you spend a lot of time in the ocean. You're a surfer as well. It's like it's like walking the halls of Interbike. You know, when I go down there and I go to the manufacturer, you know, go to Dolphin, I'm looking down the aisles of, you know, at what Zane's, you know, building these brand new skis being built and stuff, and the colors and what they're doing to them. It's like being in a toy store. You know, it's incredible, and they're all over the place down there.
Yeah,
I'll send you some photos. Yeah,
it's always fun because like when you see stuff like that, what goes through your mind is kind of like maybe that's the thing that I could get that I need that could make me faster.
Yeah,
you know? And it draws your eye in. All right, let's talk about. Well, it's the weekend, the same weekend as Ironman Triathlon Championships. So this October
11th. So there's a short course race on the 10th, and then the long course race that I take part in is on the 11th. And that's the same day as Kona?
Kona might be on Saturday. Yours is Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday.
Let me look it up real quick.
In your Ultra the same weekend? When are you doing it?
Yeah, mine's 3 days. And so people are going to have a lot of fun following all this craziness going on that weekend. Let's see, Ironman World Championship 2015. Let's see what the date is. They're talking about, it's just rumors, and it'll probably, who knows, maybe starting, because it's crowded now.
Yeah.
And everybody's the same speed. I did nationals one time in Vermont, and I didn't enjoy the racing itself because to get to nationals, everybody's about the same speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they fire you off, and the next thing you're bumping into each other and fighting for position the entire race,
Yeah.
So Kona is supposed to be a lot like that. It's on the 10th. Kona's on Saturday.
Wow.
And then yours is on Sunday. So they're talking about maybe someday doing, the men's race on one day and the women's race on the other, on Saturday and Sunday, something like that. So
well, it's kind of, it's it makes for a long day, but you figure if you're racing like the elites or the men on, if you're racing the elites on one day, it's not like it's a 17-hour day. It's an 8 or 9 hour race. Yeah,
that's true.
But some of these Ironmans now, where it's a 2-loop swim course, I bet it's congested the whole time.
Yeah.
Even in waves. I think Ironman Florida, they come out of the water, run through a chute and then go back out for another 1.2 mile loop, right? So I can't imagine that swim course is ever, there's ever a spot where you're not surrounded by people.
All the races that are on flat ground, people stay bunched up because there's no hills to kind of break them up too. So you get really bad drafting and people upset over that too on the bike. So yeah, always changes, right? You've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. I think I did my first Ironman distance race in Cape Cod outside of Boston in 1985. I think maybe there were 300 people. I think Scott Tinley won it. We swam in Nantucket Sound, and I think maybe there were 3 buoys on a 2.4 mile swim. I remember being out there going, I remember asking someone, which way do we go? It's like asking for directions in the city somewhere. I'm out in the middle of Nantucket Sound going, have you seen a buoy around here somewhere that we're supposed to aim to? And it was, I just remember it was one big loop. There might have been a couple of lifeguards out there and, maybe 3 or 4 buoys, if that. Yeah. But you're set off from shore, and it's like you kind of find your own way.
Yeah, the swim I'm doing for the Ultra Baby is there's no buoys. It's but what we're gonna the lake is only 1.2 miles across, so I'm gonna swim across and back and across and back across, like that kind of thing. Yeah. So we're gonna swim more to landmarks, and it's small enough you can see the shore the whole time, all around you. So it's actually like a really good lake to swim in because it's not big enough to get big chop. It'll get choppy, but it won't get waves, So it's actually kind of pleasant. And then when it's smooth, there's not much boat traffic. It's actually pretty nice.
It actually sounds pretty good when you were describing it.
Hey, are you there?
Yeah.
Hey, we just got internet. We've been 2 months without internet or TV at our house.
I remember reading something or hearing something.
Which I loved it, Yeah. Because it's like camping. But as somebody I was talking with Twitter on said, no TV is awesome, but no internet gets nowadays, because you do so much bill paying and all kinds of stuff, finding out about things, on the internet. That
if I asked the internet a question, I don't know if I could get through most days.
Yeah, so like I'm stuck with we just got it set up yesterday, so apparently our connection dropped out. But so now I'm tethered to my phone to keep going. It's Ironman, right? It's endurance training, right? There's always going to be obstacles. So tell me about your all these years of doing this stuff, the mindset and your approach to this. I mean, you kind of said something earlier about that. It was after doing this, and you're 49, so it's cool to do something that's a little bit different. And you've actually kind of gone round. I don't know, it was round robin the term, but you were competitive, and then you got into for many years, helping others and being an environmental spokesperson, right?
Yeah.
And like swimming across Monterey Bay and all this, setting up lifeguard programs and all this really cool stuff. And now you're kind of getting back into competition again. Were you out of competition for 10 years or so, and now you're getting back into it, or what's been going on?
Well, that's a good question, and it's I work with a lot of athletes.
Hey, are you back?
Hey, all right.
We also have a football game going on in town, and it brings down all the cell phone networks. I mean, like literally right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
yeah, but the competition, I was doing more just adventure stuff.
Adventure. Yeah.
In remote areas, American Samoa, and so the focus was on just kind of exploring, my own limits. But there weren't really start and finish lines.
Mm-hmm.
We were telling stories. We were connecting other people to the ocean. But yeah, you're kind of right. Actually, I wasn't racing as much. I was still jumping into races. And then over the last 4 or 5 years, the surf life-saving sports have become kind of a vehicle of competing again, challenging myself, and bringing this diverse group of people to this ocean stuff. So still very much a spokesperson for, connecting people to the oceans and taking care of our environment, but using sport and activities in the ocean as a way to make it personal for them. And, my own type A personality was always there, probably a little bit dormant, but I've enjoyed this new challenge of these new sports that are testing me mentally and physically. Yeah. And what's really great about the ocean-related sports is there's so much knowledge and awareness that you've got to bring into every race that I love racing against 18, 19, 20-year-old college swimmers who are new to the ocean, and maybe they're much fitter, much faster. I wouldn't want to swim a 200 freestyle against them in a pool.
Right.
But I love if all of a sudden we've got to navigate to a flag a half mile offshore.
They're scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a great equalizer. I think as we it's a matter of taking this whole package as an athlete, or it's a challenge in a different way. And I love being completely engaged physically and mentally in what we're doing.
Yeah, growing up in the Boy Scouts, we did so much camping and hiking in the wilderness that's such a great way to teach you environmental responsibility, because when you're out there, you learn to love it. And And actually, one of the biggest sources for funding for environmental preservation comes from hunting and fishing licenses. Those people are happy to pitch in.
Well, I think, like Ducks Unlimited. I mean, some of these groups are some of the most staunch conservation groups because they're protecting these habitats. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the people out there hunting and fishing responsibly, huge source of preserving, areas that we love. And I think that, if I can send someone home from the shore with a positive experience out in the ocean, they're going to want to kind of hold on to that. They're going to want to remember that experience the next time they get a choice to, maybe not use a plastic bag, or if I give them an opportunity to kind of connect something they choose in their daily life back to the experience they had in the ocean. If we have dolphins swim by, or they just had their first plunge past a wave, give them a way to connect back to that, then we've served our purpose of, inspiring people to test themselves athletically, as well as protecting the ocean environment.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're one of the creatures out there, like you're one with the dolphins and the turtles and such when you're out there swimming against the current with them.
Yeah. When you see them laboring right next to you, so to speak.
Yeah, and to think they're in it 24/7.
Yeah.
You get to go home and relax on solid ground, and they have to keep going. On a bunch of my past episodes, just recently, I've been talking about finding, what do you do after you find yourself? And the reason I started talking about it was this guy, James, the Iron Cowboy is his nickname.
Yeah.
And he
the guy that did 50 and 50.
Yeah, 50 Ironmans, 50 days in 50 states. And then also another person that is off the triathlon radar, but did something it might be even more amazing, is Scott Jurek just ran the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, he set the through course record. Yeah. In fact, Scott Jurek, who has won Western States, I don't know how many times, because he's someone too who was a competitive top ultra distance runner, and then went to the other extreme and just had this adventure on the Appalachian Trail. There was a start and finish line, but it was his personal pursuit, right?
Yeah. And so what do you, the question I've been dealing with and trying to answer is, so like me doing this Ultra Baby, right? So it's bigger than anything I've ever done before. Mm-hmm. And then the half of it is putting yourself up against something that that scares you, and you might not be able to finish it, right? So then you're out there and you've kind of depleted all your reserves. And this is adventure swimming, like you're saying, is a really good example, right? You don't really know what's going to happen out there, because there's maybe no buoys and there's no finish line, and you're just going, right? And the question is what do you do? People say when they finish something like that, they go, I really found myself out there. Okay, well, now you found yourself and you know what you're made of. Then what, right? And something I'm kind of zeroing in on is, I think I'm listening to this really good audiobook, and it's interviews with Buddhist teachers and Zen experts and such, that everybody's really careful not to call themselves a Zen master, because that kind of puts yourself up on a pedestal, and but that the recurring theme with like 24 different interviews for almost an hour each time is, it changes. Everything's always changing, and these people say, you kind of think that you get things figured out, how to do it, but then you get cancer, right. Or somebody in your family passes away, or you lose a job or something like that. So you never know, like the ocean, like it's always changing, right? So having yourself kind of found what you're really made of is only good so far. After enlightenment, chop wood, right?
Yeah,
and I think keep going.
For me, I listened to that, a couple of those podcasts where you've been asking people that question, and I would say that for me, I used a phrase earlier this summer in a blog post that what we do in the ocean makes us athletes. What we do for the ocean and for our communities makes us watermen or waterwomen. And I think that for me, once I discovered part of myself, and I say part because it's constantly an evolving learning process, mm-hmm. I seem to try to give it away. Once I have this experience and I feel like I wasn't necessarily anything special, I just met the right people who awoken this passion for this. So now a lot of what I do is try to share it. We run a program to get people with spinal cord injuries out in the open water, prone paddling. And I love being out there so much, but I don't want to be the only person out there. So I would say that I kind of discovered this, and much of what I do now when I'm not out there on my own training is trying to give it away. There's a quote from Jacques Cousteau that's on the back of my business card. It says, when one man, for whatever reason, has the opportunity to live an extraordinary life, he has no right to keep it to himself. So this feeling that when you get to do this really cool stuff, like what you're doing with the Ultra Baby, we give it away. We share it. We open the door for someone else to step through and discover their own version of the same thing.
Yeah, that's really profound. And the you're right. Like with the Ultra Baby, for example, I just got an email this morning. Somebody asking me, how to set up. He wants to. How many people have emailed me, and I give advice to on how to do their own triathlon or whatever they want to do. And he's asking like, how do I set up a what's a good distance for a run loop? If I'm doing like a fixed aid station. But no, like the amazing thing about the ocean, and it was my first ever moment of waking up to how the world actually works. It was the ocean washes away what you did yesterday. It does not care. But it's not that it's heartless or careless. It's just on its own agenda. But unlike like the land, if you hack a trail through some woods, that trail is going to be there tomorrow, right?
Right.
But you paddle or whatever across out there in the surf zone, wherever you are in the water, it's gone. It's gone in seconds. It's gone in minutes. The ocean is so alive that it consumes it eats what you did, and then you go back out tomorrow and it's just as powerful, or depending on the weather, more powerful than the day before. And it doesn't care what you did 10 years ago. It doesn't care what you did a minute ago. It's got the memory of a happy dog. It's just constantly like, come on, let's go.
That's a really good analogy. I tell people that are trying to make the transition to swimming in the ocean or whatever, that I preach kind of these three core principles for ocean athletes. It probably works for anybody, and it's balance, power, and peace. And that the balance in the ocean is this dynamic balance. It's not like sitting on a teeter-totter or a seesaw and you're balanced and that's it. The ocean, like you said, is always changing. It's this, that balance point is changing all the time with the wave, the chop, the conditions. From one day to the next, you're getting bounced all over the place. So it's this dynamic sense of balance, knowing that everything that had you in balance a moment before could completely change with the next wave or the next cove that you go past, or the next day you head out. And you've got to be able to roll with those changes. And people that are not able to make those adjustments at the moment or from day to day are going to constantly feel like they're fighting the ocean and fighting rather than working with it.
Yeah, it's like the ocean's alive, and it's so big that it doesn't care about what you... I'm not kind of repeating myself. It doesn't really care about what you did, and then it puts you into perspective to not... It's a really good dose of what you think or what you do or what you care about isn't in the scope of the earth that we live on. It's so minor, so don't worry about it so much. Don't dwell on things. The very first in Zen, there's koans, right? These unanswerable questions, like what's the sound of a tree falling in the woods, or if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound, right?
Right. And
that was the very first one. I was reading a book on this kind of stuff, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So like if you find I didn't know this at the time, but your answer is kind of individual to yourself to this kind of stuff.
Right.
And at this time, this was 15 years ago or so, and I was about 12 years ago. I was laid off from my job in California, so I had to move from San Diego back to Texas, and I was really depressed about it, because I wasn't able to be at the ocean and stuff. And I went out to San Diego for work or something like that, and I had been thinking about this question for about a month, and I'm like, well, the scientific answer is, well, of course it makes a sound if the tree falls in the woods, right? Well, I've got it. That's the answer. Like, why would there be any other answer? That's got to be it, And then when I went out to not La Jolla, Torrey Pines.
Yeah, just north of La Jolla Cove.
Yeah, and I'm up on the cliff. You can still walk down it, right? For people that don't know, it's a big hillside that slopes down into the water. And I walk up and I stand on top of there and I see the ocean and the surf zone for the first time in like a year, right? And I look down over the water, and the ocean waves are breaking exactly the same as when I'd left. There's surfers in the lineup exactly like they had when I left, and the waves were doing the exact same thing. And I could tell, you know, that the ocean had been doing the same thing 24/7 since the day I left. And then it hit me: if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? Who cares? The ocean is constantly a tree falling in the woods, and it doesn't care if it makes a sound or not. It's moving, it's alive, let's go. Like, quit worrying about yourself so much and whether or not you can hear the sound. It's just there. And it just changed my life, like, to think, wow, the world's bigger than me and my little problem. The ocean's alive, and it's always there. It's always moving. And it didn't wait for you to come back out here. It was going the entire time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that that it's whether it makes a sound and the fact that it's the answer's unique to the individual.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's probably pretty much in line with that Zen thing. Your perspective, you know, as soon as you are part of that world, you know, your perspective changes and what you see and how you perceive it changes. And that sound or not, whether you see something or not, depends upon where you're standing and where you are at that moment, and that answer changes. I mean, it's always fluid. It's this flow, nothing stationary.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this was cool, man. What else you got going on besides the race coming up? What's coming up after the Cooley Gold? Do you have anything after that?
Yeah, actually, we are. I think we mentioned my wife actually is a PhD. And her research is on mindfulness and neuroscience, adolescent brain development. And her focus right now is on mindfulness meditation as a way to become more aware, and for people with spinal cord injuries to kind of manage pain and where they are. And there's a lot of positive effects of a mindfulness meditation program. And I'm incorporating that into a lot of my training, kind of learning from her. She's the smart one in the group, and we've done some joint presentations on mindfulness and the endurance athlete, the endurance mind and mindfulness practice, to kind of manage these things that hit us, you know, as training or in a race or training, whether it's your mind starts to spiral out of control when you're doing a 1,500 meter time trial in the pool, and you start becoming your own worst enemy. And what we're both doing is we are working with these even more diverse group of athletes, you know, with the ocean as our backdrop. So when I get back from Australia, I'll race, and then I'll be down there for an extra month learning. It's almost like going to graduate school for me, you know, training with some of the best surf lifesavers. I train with the BMD Northcliffe Surf Club, which is a reigning world and Australian championship surf club. And I learned so much just from being around these guys and seeing how they work with athletes and what they teach and how they structure stuff. And then I get to come back to the U.S. and fold all of that knowledge and those connections and information into what we do here. So, you know, Michelle and I both create these ways for people to connect to themselves and to the environment around them. So coming up for me, I come back from there just totally stoked and motivated to keep pushing myself and learning more about the ocean, but then giving it away. You know, it's always an epiphany moment when I have experiences like this race ultimately will provide. And then we focus on our nonprofit work, which is, you know, impacting how people, you know, feel, think, and act towards the oceans. And the way we do that, like we said, is getting people in. We're expanding this program of getting people with spinal cord injuries or physical challenges prone paddling and out into the ocean. In fact, I may be even coming over to Texas to do some stuff.
All right. Oh, cool. Yeah.
And the surf lifesaving sport is really growing. I worked for Red Bull this summer and was a technical advisor creating the first professional surf lifesaving event on the East Coast in Atlantic City. It was the Red Bull Surf and Rescue. And we're planning for next year, and, you know, with the thought of, you know, how much bigger can we make this? So both in what I'm doing professionally for groups like Red Bull and in my own life is trying to share with people all these different ways of being in the ocean. If they choose to do triathlons or running or paddling or whatever, a lot of the lessons that we learn from being out in this dynamic environment, the ocean, how can that positively impact their chosen endurance pursuits, whether there's a starting line in their future or whether just getting out there and doing something outside and taking on something they're afraid of. We want to remove the barriers so that anyone can experience that.
Yeah, you were making me think, this is really interesting. You were making me think that, so the ocean is a reliable, kind of like I said, I was away from it for a year or so, came back and it's the exact same thing. It did not care, right, what I was doing as an individual. So it's like a reliable, consistent environment that poses, if you have an expert like you, then you know how to be safe in it, right? So
right.
It provides a consistent and a stimulating challenge, right? Mm-hmm. And then you could take somebody that's facing problems in some other part of their life, right? Like you said, like a spinal cord injury or something like that. And you can say, okay, we're going to go to the ocean and we're going to try to go out there and do some stuff. And then if you're mindful about it, you learn that you can take what you learn and transition it back to life that's a little bit more unpredictable, right? So you can say, basically the ocean just throws waves at you over and over and over again, right? It doesn't care. It's not personal. I think that's what I'm trying to touch on here. It's not personal. And so you learn to handle the adversarial conditions, and then you go and you train yourself how to respond correctly and thoughtfully, and then you get better results, right? How to use the currents your way and to not fight waves too much, And then you go back to your daily life, and then when you're faced with somebody making a comment about you and, out on the street, or you have trouble, getting something done, or somebody's being rude or something like that, or you get an overcharge on your cell phone bill, right? From using too much data because you have no internet, and you're like, it's not personal, and you learn how to navigate the waters of life just better.
Well, and mindfulness, and I've learned this, through my wife's research. Mindfulness has a lot of different meanings in social, in today's context. You hear that word a lot, but the definition that she and I use is it's non-judgmental, right. Real-time awareness. So right. you're aware of the situation, but it's non-judgmental. It passes around you, and like you said, there's no better medium to immerse yourself in for that than the ocean. You can't judge the wave or the jellyfish or the current, but you have to be aware of it. And like, you're exactly spot on that, it gives you a chance to channel dealing with anger, fear environments, because, you're going to go back to the home you left. You're going to go back to the community. And, whether you're, a teenager and you're dealing with peer pressure or whatever, or an adult dealing with, a tough coworker or something like that, how are you aware of the situation and then change the way you react to it? Non-judgmental, real-time awareness of what's going on around you.
Yeah, and like it's and with the ocean, you don't come back from being at the beach all day and go, that one stupid wave, I'm going to go find that wave for doing that to me and throwing me down.
Yeah.
It's not personal, right? It's like it was the ocean that did it, but what are you going to do? Go out and punch the wave? So you have to learn. Yeah, it forces you to learn. Self-control and mindfulness, and that the world's bigger than you, but if you do things, and that's the nice thing, right? You can leave the ocean when it gets to be too much. You come back in, right? And then you're ready for another dose of it. You can go back out.
Yep.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time, and safety is a big thing. And I train lifeguards. I'm an ocean lifeguard myself, and a trainer for one of the beach patrols here. And we give people the tools to be safe so they can make good decisions. We give them the knowledge base, and then, with the experiences, they get wisdom to go along with that knowledge base. Yeah. How do you apply what you know, and when? Yeah.
Very, very cool, man.
Yeah.
Oh, we need to get, can your wife be on a call sometime soon?
Yes. And, you know what? I'll have to send you a link. the mindfulness and the endurance mind lecture that we did at an endurance expo this past winter is actually on Vimeo. We have a channel. We actually recorded it. So what I'll have to do is send you the link so you can listen to that. But she's a little bit, sometimes she's a little bit more hesitant, or she's a little bit more shy than I am. But we love to do these things together, to kind of co-present and share. And I think, I can talk her into it. I think it'd make for a really fun conversation with the three of us.
Yeah, I could think like on the bike, a really good example of mindfulness would be when you're biking along and somebody passes you, going faster than you, and then having the self-control to go, you know what, if I go that fast, I'll blow up, too soon. And then remembering, previous workouts and stuff like that. And then you say, okay, well, I just need to be able to go my own pace. I mean, life is constantly throwing things at you that pull on your emotions, and where you're not using your mind.
And you start to spin out of control. And mindfulness meditation, you often come back to the breath. So like when that person passes you on the bike, and then you go, I should go with them. Oh, wait, no, maybe I shouldn't. And oh, now they're passing me, and they're going to take the Ironman spot. And I wanted to go with them, but then I had that bad swim. So all of a sudden, you're not thinking about yourself anymore. That one pass or that one thought has just spiraled. So you've totally lost touch with where you are and what you need to do. Yeah,
you're thinking about the swim 2 hours ago, and you're thinking about the run finish line 6 hours from now, or 8 or 4, God, however many hours, and then the one thing that you can go back to, if you remember this is one way I coach, is I say, it's kind of like commuter speed is a good Ironman pace. If you're huffing for air, because it goes back to the breath, if you're huffing for air, you're going too hard. So you go back to your breath and just go a nice calm breathing pattern. And then that's what'll win the day for you. That'll be the best you at the end of the day, regardless of everybody else.
Yeah, and I'm sure you experience too. We probably spend a lot of our time teaching the athletes that we work with how to not be their own worst enemy. That
is so perfect. You just nailed it. Because that's what in a long distance sport, right? Where it's really you versus the clock. You can't control how much everybody else trained, right? Or how fast anybody else is going, right? Your worst enemy is yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I think of all those times. How many times did Mark Allen not win Kona before he broke through and beat Dave Scott?
I think
6 times. Bike mechanic problems, things that just happened. And it wasn't the competitors. He just, something had to click, for him. And with a lot of us, and he's, I would hold him up as the example of probably the strongest mental athlete I've ever met or seen. But, it wasn't the other competitors. It was things just happening. And a lot of times, for some of us, we create those things that just happen, or we get hung up on that stuff. And you need to not be your own worst enemy. And when things happen, you move through it. In lifeguard racing, you can turn the flag behind someone or in front of them. But if one wave comes up, all of a sudden the guy in last place who happened to be in the right spot can go into first. There is so much about where you are and the luck of the wave. It's the way surf life-saving racing goes. You're never out of it until your feet are on the bottom. And so what you want to do is you want to create the opportunities for that success to come at any time.
Cool. Wow, well, we could talk about this all day.
Yeah.
Wow. So what we need to do is schedule another call on down the road.
Absolutely.
At least
5 years from now.
Yeah, not 5 years from now. At least like right after the Cooley Gold, and you can tell us like what mindfulness you use to do the best that you can, right?
Yeah, and you're going to be going through your Ultra Baby. I think because the last year at the Cooley Gold, it was one of the first times I've been that afraid before an event, because I was going, I've never done this before. There's only 4 other Americans that have. There weren't a lot of people I could ask, what's this going to be like? And, there's a lot of unknowns. And I think you and I both, during that weekend, we're going to be moving through a lot of unknowns.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. When I've done some bigger stuff that's bigger than I can comprehend, because I haven't done it before, I just look at the time and I go, can I do whatever it is for this amount of hours?
Yeah.
And that's the best you can wrap your mind around it. You're just like, if I go really, really easy and really slow, I can do X, like swim or whatever, for so many hours. And that's it. That's the best you can do.
Yeah, because you and I have both done 100-mile runs. And I don't know about you, but the first time I was looking at doing a 100-miler, mine was up in Vermont. I'm like,
oh, wow. Ouch.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I can go at the speed. It looks good on paper, but you and I both know what's it like to watch the sunrise come up a second time and you're still in the same race. Yeah.
That was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life to this date. I think this Ultra Baby might push that. It's not continuous, but I think on day 3 I'm going to be kind of hurting pretty good.
I think you're going to be thinking about it. I can imagine that you're not really going to turn your brain off, even when you're sleeping. You've got that next day ahead of you. So you may be off the bike or take your shoes off, but it's going to be 24/7, 24 hours each day for those 3 days that you're going to be living this.
But you know what? You just said something that I think is really powerful. I'm definitely going to remember it throughout the ordeal. Is don't be your own worst enemy, because there's so much that happens that's actually not out there on the swim, bike, and run. It's day 1. As soon as you're done, what do you do? Right? That makes all the difference on day 2. What do you eat? How soon do you eat? When do you go to bed? You got to charge up all your devices. You got to, not drink any beer, for example, to celebrate day 1. Would be, like, do you have a beer? Was it that much fun? You're compromising day 2 if you start doing that kind of stuff. All kinds of things.
Well, and you've talked about too. You kind of like when you bonk in a long race and you slow down, you walk through it. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when you move through it, when you got that second wind or when you move past the bonk. But in most cases, if you keep moving forward, it's going to get better. I mean, sometimes it doesn't. But for most of us, we go through highs, we go through lows, and that next high might be just one step away. It just might be that next step where all of a sudden it clicks and you're back on again. And you're just dialed. You never know when that's going to happen, but you got to set yourself up for it.
I did a 50-miler trail run one time where I bonked on mile 30 or something like that. Bad. I thought I was going to have. I called Emily and said, I think I'm going to have to DNF. And she said, well, just keep going. And I said, I can do that because I'm kind of out in the middle of nowhere. There's nowhere else but straight. And you know what? It was somewhere between 6 and 10 or 11. I don't know why I got the number 11 stuck in my head, but probably about 11 miles later of kind of walking painfully, that all of a sudden I felt so good that I was able to run the rest of it.
Well, it's like your wife and mine have the same practice. My wife will tell me, take 10 more strokes. You can take 10 more strokes and then talk to me about how you feel. And she may do that to me for 2 miles, and I'm always just taking 10 more strokes. But, she is wiser than I am. She's like, you can do 10 more strokes.
Does she ride out in the kayak next to you while you're out swimming and stuff?
On almost every long distance adventure swim or race, she's always been with me. And
so
a few
cool.
times when she hasn't been, she's been next to me for so long, I can literally see her in my head.
Yeah.
I remember I did a race around an island in Alaska, a swim race. Yeah. And it was a race. It was an 8.5-mile race around this island in Ketchikan. And I was chasing the guy in the lead. And, I was swimming all over the place because I was just watching him and not paying attention to everything else. My wife's on the kayak next to me. And she finally yells at me and she says, stop following him and stay with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. Because
quit being your own worst enemy, right?
My own
following the other guy.
She could see further ahead. She could see the current. She could see the line we need to take. And I followed her. And sure enough, I trusted her, followed her, and ended up winning, beat the guy.
Yeah.
If I'd been, just listening to myself, I would have been chasing this guy all over the inner passage. But, Michelle's like, stay with me, follow me. And sure enough, we won the race.
Cool.
So having her, there to, either literally when I can or virtually to say, stay with me, do this, and we'll be fine, is always a good thing to play over in my head.
How much neoprene did you have to wear for this thing?
I was no wetsuit.
No wetsuit in Alaska?
Yeah, water was 54. We had orcas swim past.
Oh, that's one of my worst fears. Orca. Just when you think there's sharks, there's orcas.
Yeah. Well, I figured I was safe. I wasn't in SeaWorld, so they weren't going to do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, they leave you alone. Hopefully, I've never seen. Has an orca ever attacked a human? I don't think they ever have.
In the wild, never.
No, that's weird.
Never in the wild, yeah. I've had orcas in the water with me on 3 occasions, at least 2. Once in Monterey Bay and up in Alaska.
That's amazing. I've never seen one in the wild. I can't wait someday to see one.
Yeah. Big dorsal fins.
Big.
It's a good wake call for your support crew in the kayak when they see a dorsal fin 6 feet high.
Oh, that's so cool. Wow. That's amazing. Well, thanks, Bruckner. Where do we find you online so everybody can follow you?
It's the good thing with having a unique name is I'm easy to find. So BrucknerChase.com. And if anyone's poking around South Jersey or visiting this way and they want to hit us up in the water, OCSwimClub.org. So BrucknerChase.com is the nonprofit and stuff that I do as an athlete and activist. And then OCSwimClub.org is what we do in the community here to get people in the water.
Awesome, man. Well, you got me amped. I want to go swim now.
Yeah, we got to get in the water. I got to get you. I've got 2 surf skis. If you're ever on this, we got to find some time.
It happens. I was just in North Carolina just not too long ago.
Yeah, you will. I've got 8 paddle boards, 2 surf skis. We would have a blast in the water.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Yeah, it would be cool for me to sign up for some kind of swim event up there and then come do it. Yeah,
and actually we are. We did our first one last weekend. We're putting on this Legion of Ocean Heroes surf life-saving sports festival where we bring together all these diverse ocean athletes that we know, our master swimmers, triathletes, professional lifeguards, as well as our spinal cord injured athletes. And it's like a surf life-saving carnival where there's short swims, paddle boards, relays, same sort of stuff I do as a lifeguard racer, at U.S. lifeguard racing, but we do it as kind of like for civilians. And we're going to do, our next one's going to be the weekend before Memorial Day. And then we'll do a second one the weekend after Labor Day. It's kind of this celebration, community celebration of being in the ocean and trying something new that's, not long distance, but you're working with people, and it's a great sort of, it's got a great vibe to it. Maybe that's a good time to come up.
Yeah, sounds like it. Cool. All right, man. Stay safe out there.
Absolutely. And if I don't talk to you beforehand, I'm sure we'll probably social media, but I'm looking forward to following the stories as you and I are both on our final run-up for training for these big weekends. So we're on parallel paths right now.
I know. It's going to be so cool. All right, everybody. Try to follow.
I will see you in the water.
Yeah, try to follow me and Bruckner and Ironman Hawaii Kona all at once.
This weekend. It's a good time to be out on the road, in the ocean, or on the couch. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks, man.
All right, take care, man. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. All right. Thank you, Bruckner. And also, after we got off the air, we talked a little bit more and said, man, we got to hang out together because we are totally on the same track in life of trying to do the best we can to help others, but also trying to do competition, to make ourselves feel better while we're helping others, and I'm a big hippie environmentalist at heart. All the outdoors camping that I did and led me to getting environmental science degrees and forestry and stuff like that. And even though I work on computers, my heart and soul is in saving the outdoors and the planet and trying to be healthy. And Bruckner and I definitely see eye to eye. And also with the mindful stuff mixed in, I was super stoked to get him on the air. So we're going to have him back on, and we'll zoom in on some mindfulness stuff and bring that to you guys. All right, speaking of all that, we should talk a little bit about some Zen. And to make sure I'm on track, let me make sure this thing's recording real quick, because sometimes it doesn't, and I want to make sure I bring you the good stuff. All right, I said at the beginning of the show, we're going to talk about Zen to win. And when I was when I was on my flight to back and forth actually to Boston, and it was 5 different individual flights and luggage and all meeting gates without getting kicked off planes and running and all kinds of elbowing and stuff to get where we needed to go. And no internet, I downloaded and listened to a bunch of different Zen podcasts, audiobooks by Alan Watts, which is fantastic stuff. You're It is a great book. And did lots of contemplation and thinking and wanted to share some really cool stuff with you. So basically, you want to be happy, right? That is the pinnacle of everything. You just want to be happy. Well, if you've noticed, people are happy when they're winning at the game of life. Now, everybody's happiness is relative, and it has to do with what kind of family you were brought up in, the amount of money they had, the neighborhood, the city, the part of the world. That kind of trains you, and there's not much you can really do about it after a while, of what is success and what is happiness. So if you grow up in a really rich family and then you're not rich, you somehow feel like maybe you failed or something like that. That's like the standard that's been ingrained in you. But let's say you grew up in a really poor family. All you got to do is be richer than them and you're a success. And there's villages all over the world where people are super happy even though they have no internet, no TV, no health care. Their lifespan might be kind of short, but they're super happy when they're interviewed and surveyed, is what I mean. And why? And it's because given the situation that they're in, they're winning. They have things kind of figured out and their system works. And they're doing better than people on the other side of town, right? A really great way to be miserable is to be surrounded by people that are doing better than you. And that's, you could be a millionaire, but you're surrounded by billionaires, and all of a sudden you feel like a failure. And, Einstein, everybody that knows anything talks about, everything is relative, right? Because, you got your speed in the car right now, well, you're also on the earth moving, and it just goes on and on. Everything is relative, and you can't escape from it, and you ought to think that way about how everything works. So everybody's game is winning, right? And that's what makes you feel happy. That's how we're wired, and that's how it keeps you moving. That's the only way the human body and the mind and the emotional system, can work, is it has to work relatively. And then also it works in the now. So whether if you won something a while ago, well, after a while it kind of goes away, right? And if you're headed towards winning something in the future, well, still that's not now. So it's not as great a feeling someday. I tell Kyle he can have an Xbox someday. Well, I'm like, why are you mad, man? I just told you you're going to have an Xbox, like a month or 2 from now for your birthday. And he's, I want it now, That makes it just want it more, right? So it has to do with feeling like you're winning now, and that will make you happy. And a really cool thing, and Scott Adams talked a lot about this in his book about systems, winning in the now has a lot to do with, we as humans, we are systems and pattern machines. We pick up on patterns really, really quickly. And we do it so we can kind of predict the future, so that we don't, if we notice that the same creepy guy that mugs people is on this one street corner 2 days in a row, guess where we don't go on that 3rd day? We don't go there, right? For our own safety. So, there's, if this is a trail that lions like to walk down, well, then we don't go down it, because that'll probably be where a lion will be. And it's how we've learned to survive, right? So we're always looking for patterns all the time, ever since that we're babies, and we love it. We love symmetry, and we love patterns, because it helps us. Once we see a pattern that works, we feel like we're right? And in a world of uncertainty, to feel like you're right makes you feel good about yourself. And you'll notice this on internet forums, people will post their opinion on something. So, and also people take bets on things. People propose who's going to win Kona, who's going to win the next NFL game, right? To put it out there, because if they win, then they're right. And that means that they've got something figured out in the world and there's less uncertainty, right? Okay, well, oh my gosh, I got a fire truck, like literally right behind me. Hope they don't fire up the big diesel engine on this thing. But anyway, what works is a system, right? Because I said we're system and pattern machines. What works is a system that makes you right most of the time for the things that matter right now, right? That's the things you ought to focus on. And also, it's a little bit important for you to win at being right effortlessly, because we're also machines that love efficiency. And I want to mention something. Kai, my 10-year-old, when he plays this really cool video game on an iPhone that goes pretty fast, and it's called Smashy Road. And you drive a car around, and it's really easy to lose. So and you're trying to steer left and right, and you're trying to do it fast so that you don't get caught by the cops. And if you make a wrong move, the cops pretty much are going to guarantee to catch you, right? Well, when you first start playing this game, you turn left and right all the time. The game's moving really fast, and you only make it a few seconds, And then you overdo it. You press left and right, a whole lot on the phone screen, and you get a little bit better at it. And then the other day, I was watching Kai play. Kai told me he got 6 stars, which means he played for like a minute and a half, or I don't know, like crazy long without getting killed. And I watched him play, and I noticed something that you will all notice in something with people that are succeeding really well. He pushed the buttons on the phone far less frequently. Much less than ever before, right? He quit interfering with where the car was going and only press the buttons when he needed to. And that efficiency led to less fretting and less unnecessary movement, and it let the game play more smoothly, and he could play longer without dying in this game. That's really important. Okay, so the Zen part is to sit down and say, what is today's game? Right? What is something today, now? You could do it today, you could do it for the next few hours, whatever you want. And say, what are the things that if I win at these things today, I will feel like I'm doing better than either my competition or better than previous me. It's kind of up to you, better than other people, better than, I expected. Whatever, it could be versus other people or versus yourself or just kind of versus your standard. What's going to get you ahead if you get these few things done? And you don't want too many things, you just want a few things. And so like for me, I wrote down a few things like getting in a bike workout, because it's always a struggle to get on my bike. I had to get into work and knock out some work projects really quick. I had to do some review stuff. I had to send out some Hornet juice orders that I was behind on because of my vacation to Salem. And actually I had to record this podcast today. And these are things that if I get done, then I had to document that I got a new heart rate strap because my other one broke, because I like to keep track of these things. If I get these things done, then I'll feel like I'm actually winning, right? And the craziest thing is, it's not just getting those done, but it's coming up with a system, right? It's coming up with a pattern of, twice a day I check my Hornet juice orders, at 6 a.m. and 8 p.m., right? And it just works. It works every single time. You got a pattern that works. Having a pattern, having a system that beats the things so that you're winning, beats your obstacles in life so that you're winning, allows you to start doing it effortlessly. Like Kai playing that video game. It allows you to start just graciously moving through life, and all your big problems are kind of handled because of systems that you set up that you are right about. And it feels amazing, absolutely amazing, because now you're walking on top of the world. You're doing better than your competition. You're doing better than the obstacles that are in your life coming in front of you. And the fact that it's a system makes it efficient, and that allows it to be zen because it allows you to free up attention and space to do it well, right? Because you can actually enjoy it now, and seeing things go into place makes you feel good. When you got your socks and you put them in your sock drawer, and you got your underwear and you put it in your underwear drawer, and you got enough coat hangers to hang up your shirt, and you start putting things away. Doesn't that make you feel good? It's because you got a system, right? Well, as your big things in life that you've decided that are important today, as you start putting them in the places where you know they belong, and you knock them out one after another with a system, it just starts feeling really, really, really good. And then also, there's another small Zen part I want to talk about. Being faced with a problem and not knowing what to do about it. There is a temporary feeling of fear. It's a black hole where you don't know the answer. And that not knowing the answer can stress you out, and then not knowing leads you, if you're not careful, it leads you to frantic responses to try to fill in the gaps, right? So you get an email from your boss that he wants to have an important meeting with you in 1 hour. No, let's say later today. You get an email at 9 saying he's got an important meeting with you at 3 p.m. It's urgent, and bring your documents from HR. Or that project that you're like way behind on, right? Okay, well, now you're like, crap, what do? I don't have the answers. I don't have a system. I don't have anything to deal with this. You start feeling fear, your ego, like your world may end, right? Because your ego is built up around the world that you've constructed, and you're like, oh man, I might lose my job. What's going on? And then you start wasting energy, and you start fretting, and you start making poor choices. Like, say you're new to a video game, and you start hitting all the buttons because you don't know what to do, right? Instead of just graciously doing nothing and not reacting and not acting excessively and wasting energy and start making poor choices. And that time is where I think it's Keith McLeod of Unfettered Mind, I think is the podcast. Anyways, a really great talk on being okay with not responding to and being okay with sitting in the not knowing is the first step, right? Just be like, and realizing that that's what that is, that you've just been presented with something where you don't know the answer, right? And going, oh crap. So you have some choices, right? One choice is, can I do anything about this? Yes or no. If no, then strongly think about, just not doing anything and thinking about something else. But not running in fear from it. Another one that is a great answer is this something new that I can categorize with a system? Because if I come up with a system of dealing with this problem, if this problem ever happens again, right? Is this something that could happen again? If I can come up with a system for dealing with this, oh my gosh, I'm going to feel like winning, right? So you move to a new city, and somebody's like, you got to go see this, and another person goes, you got to go see this, got to go see this. Well, you're overwhelmed with all these choices. Like, what do I do with all these things I need to go see, and these restaurants I need to go to, and these parks I need to bike at and run at? And all that. Well, you create a list of places that people are telling you to go to. Now you've got a place to dump your inputs coming in. Right now you got a system, and you feel so good, right? You're taking something that's out of your control and that you can't handle, and now you're kind of systemizing it, right? So your boss sends you an email, and you could come up with a system that in your life, anytime you get one of these emails where they're scary and you're not sure what's going on, that you reply back with, can you give me some more information on the meeting so I'm better prepared, right? And that's your standard answer. And then when the boss replies back and goes, yeah, we're just going to talk about benefits for whatever, then you're like, right? Or if they say, just bring yourself, right? Well, then, and you still get no better response, then you're like, well, I asked the question and that's my system, so I did the best that I could, right? And then now you feel better because you've kind of rationalized and reframed stuff into something that at least you've tried your best with your system, right? That works. Woo! Okay, so rewind that and listen to that a few times. And so basically sit down, take the time to review what's important so that you win in a day. And it's fluid and it's different for other people because everything's relative. And then try to come up with systems to handle those things that make you win. So like I have a system for getting on the bike. I have a list. If I do a big thing for me today is get in a bike ride, well then I've got a list that I can check through. Water, air, tires, grab my helmet, bike, computer, so I don't forget anything, so I don't get on the bike and then start to try to bike and then feel like a failure because I messed up something, right? And but if I check through my system of how I'm going to bike, well then everything just works fluidly or pretty fluidly most of the time, and my bike gets done and then I feel like a winner and I'm like, this is really, really good stuff. Okay. That was your Zen moment for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And let's move on with questions and donations to the show. Oh, somebody asked, they want to follow up on Kai's wheels, about these wheels for Kai on his bike, these Chinese carbon wheels. They're holding up, but he's really not riding his bike that much. He did get third at overall in his age group in a triathlon on those wheels, which I think had a lot to do with it because they're super light and fast. But we'll have more on the wheels on down the road. And here we go. We got questions and donations. Katie sent in an email. Oh, this is a little bit about Hornet Juice and let's see, the Garmin 920 XT sleep function. Yes, she could look it up in a manual, but she'd love to hear my opinion of it and any tips. I'm assuming I'd have to sleep with it on my wrist, which may take some time getting used to. Also, I have plantar in my left foot. I have that right now bad too. So keep me posted on your progress. I'm trying to train for it with the New York Marathon, which has been dicey. After much treatment, including physical therapy, I found that I get the most relief from my sports when my sports masseuse attacks my tight legs, and that rolling on it with this spiky ball that looks like a dog toy. Thanks for all that you do. I'm a longtime listener. I'm the one who runs with my thumbs up like your dad said. Katie. Yeah, my dad taught me running with him as a kid. Run with your thumbs pointed up and it helps you breathe better and not get side stitches somehow. But anyway, it really teaches you not to clench your hands, which clenches your arms, which clenches your body, which has you not breathing as well. Anyway, she was asking about the Garmin 920 sleep function. Does it record your sleep? Yes, it does. It's got a kind of like a Fitbit in it, and it works really, really well. So with the Garmin 920, you get a swim, bike, run watch, and also a fitness tracker with a sleep tracker built in it, which is kick ass, because sleep is actually one of your biggest limiters. I'd say after water, then sleep, and then overtraining. Ken P wrote in and says, I'm a huge fan of all things Zen and most things triathlon, so I love your show. I want to say that I just finished your last podcast and was debating on listening to another or trying to catch up on Rich Roll's show. Then I saw the title of episode 597, Ironman Texas 2015, and the Tao Te Ching. It's a very important book, by the way. I thought, well, I'm not really interested in the Ironman Tech stuff, but I love the Tao. I'll just listen to that, and assuming it would be at the beginning. As fate would have it, it was at the end. Hey, man, podcast, dude. Fast forward until you get, it is trying to, because I mix stuff up so much. It's hard to tell when I'm talking about the Tao Te Ching and Ironman. As fate would have it, it was at the end, and I'm glad it was. I really enjoyed your recap of the race, though now I really want to do another Ironman! ! Also, on the subject of the Tao, check out Taoist lecture series by Danielle Bolelli, Bolelli, Danielle, and it's Daniele, Bolelli.com, download /Taoist, which is with a T, Taoist, lectures. He also put up a really awesome podcast on the Zen monk, Ikkyu Sojun. Cool, I need to check that out. Finally, I noticed you're into whiz-bang computer techie stuff. Me too. Triathlon and whiz-bang techie must go together like coffee and butter. I wrote a few thoughts about it too. Check it out if you have a minute at pittsburghrunner.com/blog/ this entry is called Add Guilty to Your Training Plan. I agree. And by the way, that reminds me, and he says, thanks for all you do and keep the rubber side down, ! I did a blood test for work, and my results came back with a fasting blood sugar of 70, which is awesome. My HDL could be a little bit higher, and that's the healthy blood fat, blood cholesterol. LDLs were fine, and I think everything else was just awesome. And I think my HDL was 52, and they wanted it to be like 60 or above or something like that. But it was still really good. My overall cholesterol was like 147 or something like that. And what I did was I quit listening to podcasts that talk about food and off the beaten path food eating methods, and I started adding more carbs back into my diet, and also food timing was important, so more carbs during and after workouts, and my blood sugar, in spite of it being more carbs, actually went down. And the theory is that if you don't eat enough carbs and your body starts digesting itself, it's digesting itself all the time. So as it's tearing apart your body muscle and stuff like that, that is being turned into fuel, which is turned into blood sugar, which is in your bloodstream far later than you would than should be when you haven't eaten. So even though you haven't eaten for a while, your body's tearing it apart because it's hungry, and it's putting blood sugar in your bloodstream for your body to use for fuel. And I corrected it by eating more carbs, not less, which is kind of counterintuitive to all the wacky, wonky, eat high-fat, low-carb stuff that's going on out there. And, I finally just got sick of it and said, I'm just not going to listen. Because I noticed if I listen to a podcast where they're like, you need to put butter in your coffee and like all this other stuff, and don't eat carbs, then I kind of start, and they got a few people on there that are like, yeah, it worked for me. And then I start going, well, maybe I could do that, and then I ended up doing it just by listening to it. So I'm like, you know what, turn all that crap off. Not same podcaster will have episodes about it, or some, not about it. So if it's not about it, and it's about, I don't know, intervals or something like that instead, I'll listen to that. But if it's about, hey, we need to talk about low carb, high fat, I'm like, bleh, that doesn't work for ultra distance triathlon. and then I want eating whole foods as much as possible, but adding in treats that are carby as needed. So a sugary cookie here, or whatever, no big deal. And then making sure I'm doing my workouts well fueled. And also on a lot of weightlifting blogs, it'll be funny that people talk about diet and nutrition, and they always talk about macros. And I think macros are actually the most important thing. Making sure that you're getting in the right or close to right ratios of carbs, fat, and protein. You're like, where's my protein? Where's my fat? Where's my carbs, right? And kind of, if you simplify nutrition down into those things and try to get healthy versions of those, but those things first. So it's macros first, and then healthy versions of those macros second, right? Because you need the macros first. Whether the fat's healthy or not, well, let's say the protein. Let's say whether the protein's healthy or not comes after whether or not you've got protein or not. So get your protein first. Now try to make it as healthy as you can, and or your carbs or whatever it is. And then also, I strongly consider fiber the hidden macro, because it's fat, protein, carbs. But man, dude, for everything to flow well, you need fiber in there too. And then sleep, and then water and coffee. Okay, that was a long email. More donations to the show. Han Chu, James Godak, Jonathan Woodman, and Richard Stewart, Connor Sanders, Sean, he's got an email in here. Hey, Brett, first let me start off by saying how much I love the Hornet juice. We'll talk about that at the end here. Makes me sweat like crazy, which is odd. I don't know why it would make you sweat. But I can absolutely feel the difference. Even if it's 100% placebo effect, it still works! Exclamation point. Okay, I want to say something about that. Placebo effect is even better than actual effect because at least there's no side effects, right? If a sugar pill, a tiny little sugar pill, makes you train harder, dude, that's the best kind of thing because there's no doping, there's no side effect drugs there or anything, you know? So, dude, watching triathlon videos on YouTube makes me bike harder. So that's the best kind of drug right there. Let's see. I've been giving it out to all my buddies, telling them where to buy it, which I need to stop because now I'm down to only a couple of packs and I need to reorder! Exclamation point. I have a question for you though regarding nutrition. I did my first triathlon past weekend and it was a success! Exclamation point. I got first in my age group, 30 to 39. So that's pretty good, dude. That's really good. And 10th overall. Wow. First triathlon. Watch out for this guy. However, during the transitions, I felt super lightheaded, and then on the run, I had a wickedly sloshy stomach. Yep, I can tell you already what happened. And then he says, I ate a bagel with cream cheese and a Cliff Bar approximately an hour and 45 minutes before the start, and I had Hornet juice about 45 minutes prior to the start. Okay. Any tips on how to get rid of lightheadedness and sloshy stomach in the future? Yeah, the lightheadedness comes from you got too much stuff in your stomach and too much of the wrong stuff in your stomach, and your body is fighting itself your brain is fighting your muscles for the blood sugar generated by that, and because your stomach is and it's fighting your stomach, so your stomach is trying to digest this stuff, and it can't because the blood flow is not at the stomach. It's going to the muscles, and because now everything's competing with that, now it can't go to the brain, and now you're lightheaded, and now you're getting lightheadedness is low blood sugar, and now the sloshy stomach is now your stomach's stuck with stuff in it that's not going anywhere, and you're drinking water on top of that, and so now it's just kind of sloshing around. So this is the cure. 1 hour and 45 minutes, the standard is 2 hours before exercising, and 2 hours before exercising should still be more carbs and not fat, and very light on the protein. So the cream cheese was a mistake. The bagel might have been a mistake if it was a whole wheat bagel. So like a really good thing to eat 2 hours out from a race is a power bar. It's just straight carbs. It's solid, so it'll take a little while to digest. But, and your Cliff Bar. Cliff Bars so your cream cheese has a lot of fat in it. It's probably all fat. And then your Cliff Bar actually has a lot of fat in it, by the way. I love Cliff Bars, and they have a lot of fat. And your stomach can't digest those very fast at all, so it's taking resources away from your body and also clogging up your guts to try to digest that stuff. So it's messing you up, dude. So again, power bar, maybe some Gatorade, not too much, because if you eat too much sugary stuff before a race, then you have a blood sugar spike, and then a blood sugar crash, and then you're starting off in the negative as well. So just a touch of that kind of stuff. And protein, Hornet juice is really good because it's only a little bit of protein, and you mix it with water, and so your body should digest that pretty well. So, and that's your answer, dude. Okay, Matthew Heinz sent in a donation. Brian Kemper, Todd Nelson, Jason Drury, Dan Machia, Jessica Woodruff, Todd Endicott, Matthew Frois, Allison Frutos, and Alex Bromage, who I coach up there in Sweden. They're all donors to the show. All right, so let's cover sponsors and donations. You can support Zen and the Art of Triathlon. If you like the tips and everything that I'm giving you, consider a donation to the show. It helps keep the show on the air. You can do a recurring donation on the left-hand side of the podcast, zentriathlon.com. You go there. That's the show page where I put show notes and links and stuff like that. The show takes a ton of work and time to make, and I love doing it. And donations show your support that I'm doing it right and that you like it. And it's nice. So there's recurring or one-time donations on PayPal on the left-hand side, which I love. Super cool. Hornet Juice on the right-hand side. If you order Hornet Juice, then you get a kick-ass product that I just constantly get emails about that helps you run more on fat burning than just pure carbs, your body's fat reserves. It's like diesel power. It's made from the Japanese killer hornet saliva. No joke. It's crazy. And it's so cool because you get to share it with your friends, and like it's a real treat, man. It's cool stuff, and then you're helping yourself while helping support the show, which is really nice. And that's Hornet Juice. That's on the right hand side, and then also I need to give a couple of shouts outs to some sponsors. Chris Haig Racing. Chris Haig is a big time supporter of Zen and the Art of Triathlon. Dude is super cool, super nice, super smart. Super sharp, just super all the way around. He's really got the pedigree of a great coach, and I love supporting other great coaches and having everybody kick ass in this sport. So I want you to check him out, Chris Haig Racing, and he ran track for University of South at Sewanee. He could have gone pro, I think, and he raced against me and beat the crap out of me several times, and the dude is just awesome and a great attitude. So check him out. And then lastly, Sound Probiotics, by the way. Sound Probiotics is helping sponsor the Ultra Baby, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And also Amrita Bars. Amrita Bars are my go-to fuel. I had half of one this morning, half of one after my bike workout. 15% off purchases at amritahealthfoods.com. And Amrita is AMRITA. 15% off with discount code ZEN, all capital letters. So they're bars, and they also have cycling and triathlon kits and running shirts and stuff. And they're date-based, all organic, all vegan, super duper good stuff. No nuts in them. They have seeds instead, so if you have a nut allergy, they're awesome. And I love eating Amrita stuff, and I love wearing their stuff. Stuff looks super cool. Okay. Whew. I think that's enough. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the training log. The Ultra Baby's coming up, doing a self-supported Ultraman, which is a 6.2 mile swim and then a 90 mile bike ride, day 1. Day 2 is a 172 mile bike ride. Day 3 is a double marathon, 52 miles, 52.4 miles of running, all 3 days in a row. And man, it's freaking hard, and the training is about killing me. I've realized I'm about as fit as I can get, and now it's just minimizing problems. And we're going to get all into that with the training log, and things are looking good. They're looking really, really good. Now I'm just kind of neatening up things, making sure there's no crises. There was word that the dam at the lake was going to break, and they're dropping water at the dam. So I got to stay on top of that. Getting kayaks. Tri-Boomer is going to come down and help crew. Got to make sure that the route is safe. I've had people drop out, so it's turning out to be just me doing the entire thing, and other people doing parts of it. And I do not blame people for that. Ultramans are freaking crazy, and the closer I get to it, the more scared I'm getting, and the more I'm realizing who I really am, which we talk a lot about on this show. I'm peeling back the layers and seeing what I can actually get done versus what I think I can get done, which is cool, man. It's been a great adventure. So if we do not get another show out between now and then, and this is the last episode before the Ultra Baby will be fantastic. We'll have lots of audio from doing the show, so stay tuned for that. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the training log. Here we go.
You are entering the ZenTri training log zone. Huneli.
Hi everybody, my name's Brett. I'm a triathlete.
I decided it's time I got some friends more suited to my status.
But Joe, we've been friends for years.
Hey, we all make mistakes. Come on, dudes, let's go exercise! Exercise! Yeah! I'm gonna do sit-ups till I poop myself!
All right, welcome to a new training log. Or, as I like to call it, another episode of Zen and the Art of Where is My Shit? Where has Emily put my triathlon training stuff now? Oh, if you're new to Zen and the Art of Triathlon, we have a recurring theme here on the show, and I think every triathlete has this problem, is where has my significant other, my SO, put my training gear? And now I'm ready to train, and I can't find my jogging shorts, my goggles, my bike pump, I don't know, whatever, my helmet. And yeah, I think a lot of us live this problem. Don't deal with it, live it. And it's half our own fault, because if we put stuff back where it should go, then somebody else wouldn't put it somewhere else. But some of us have a problem with, in spite of our best efforts, stuff gets put in a different place, no matter how hard you try to do things right. And that's what we have today. I drive all the way across town and to go swim to an even farther away pool than I usually go to go swim, because it's evening. It's not my morning pool. And I get here, and then I turn to the back seat of my car, because on every episode of ZenTri, I always say, keep your swim stuff in your car. Just keep it in your car, and then you'll never be missing it, and you can go swim without it being a problem. So I reach in the back seat, and there's no swim bag. And I'm like, what the F? Start looking around, and Emily took my car on a road trip this weekend, and Emily loves to clean out everything all the time. She just takes everything out of everything and puts everything away somewhere else. And so for no reason whatsoever, she took my swim bag out of my car and put it in the house somewhere. And I'm like, so I text her and I go, I did not do in all caps, I restrained myself. Where is my swim bag? Now that I've driven, and then to myself, now that I've driven all the way across town in half an hour to get to the pool, it's more like 15, 20 minutes. And she calls me, and Emily's awesome, by the way. And she said, I took it out of the car because I went on my road trip, and I wanted you to have it there at the house this weekend in case you wanted to go swim. Now, I never go swim on the weekends. But see, Emily did this on purpose to be kind. And that's a little bit of a Zen thing there. Everybody's trying to do their best. Even the guy that's out there trying to kill people is trying to do his best for some reason. And we're all dealing with different problems. And a lot of times it's a misunderstanding. So Emily, even without me asking, offered to drive halfway across town to meet me and give me my swim bag. And I said no. It's because I actually keep the swim stuff, the wet stuff, on top of the Nissan Xterra in the rooftop box. And she did not, for some miracle of God, did not decide to empty that out for whatever reason. And then, so the swim bag only had like swim shampoo and like a combo lock and like, stuff like that in it. I can get by without that. I can just put my stuff by the side of the pool and glare at anybody that's looking at my stuff. But anyway, when you cannot find your stuff because you've put it somewhere or somebody else has put it somewhere, you are not alone in this battle. That is a majority of being an age grouper triathlete is, and also let's say you're even a pro, if you're traveling or training different places, is the biggest obstacle is getting going, All you got to do to be a good swimmer is get to the freaking pool and get in the water. Well, there's so many obstacles when you try to get to the pool of things happening. So, part 2 of the crap of getting into the pool tonight, I go to the front desk, and there's signs all over the front desk of the gym that say, sorry about the pool, and that it's so cold, the heater's broken, and it'll be fixed sometime tomorrow afternoon. And I was like, how cold is it? She goes, it's pretty cold. And I said, yeah, but how cold is it? And, because I swam some cold crap, I swam Alcatraz and Tahoe and I don't know, some other stuff. And I've been surfing in 55 degree water. And I know that I can sustain 68 degrees for almost an hour with no wetsuit, no nothing. And before I start going so numb that it starts to like be debilitating, like wonder if I'm getting nerve damage or something. And she said, I think it's low 70s, mid 70s. And I was like, okay, well, I'll give it a try. So I get to the pool and I dip my toe in and I'm like, holy crap, dude. That's pretty freaking cold. That is high 60s, low 70s, somewhere in there. It's hard to tell. And two other guys get there. One of them has like no body fat whatsoever. And he jumps in and tries swimming for a while. And he goes, forget this. Another guy jumps in and swam around for a little bit. And he goes, forget this. But I'm like, those are young guys. And I'm old and cranky. And I'm not going to put up with stuff. I drove all the way across town. I've already gotten into an argument with my wife about wanting to swim. I'm not turning around now. I'm going to get in the pool and I'm going to swim. There's my theory on why older people do the long stuff is it's a break from reality. You know, young people, you know, it's like they don't want to do the long stuff because they're like, why would I want to be out in the woods all by myself running 100 miles? And because there's nobody around and it sucks. And the older person is like, I want to go out and run in the woods all by myself because it sucks and there's nobody around to tell me what to do. So I'm like, I got to get in and try the swimming thing. And I started swimming and it kind of scared me at first. I thought I might not be able to take it. But then after a while, after about 10 minutes, I was like, hey, I'm taking this pretty good. I don't think I'm going to have many problems. And then at the very, very end of an hour, I felt like half of my lower lip, my right half of my lower lip was starting to go numb, like in a bad way, you know, like things were turning off. And I was like, okay, that's cool. That's better than my hands or, you know, something else going numb. So I'm good. And then let me describe to you a really nice workout. Swim an hour or however long is long for you, longish, you know, like a longish swim. And go very, very, very easy for the first couple of minutes and then kind of warm up and then work on a nice, even cadence that's as high a cadence and as strong a pull as what feels easy to moderate. And focus on your breathing. If you start huffing for air, that's too hard. And you just cruising along and trying to keep it consistent. And you dabble in and out of maybe that's just going a little bit too hard. And then try not to get attached to the speed that you're going. You'll find that if you're like, maybe this is a little bit too hard. See, my automatic instinct is, well, what am I going to do to keep going this fast? I got to keep going this fast. What am I going to do? I got to tough it out. And that's the dumb response. The smart response is, well, back off just a little bit and kind of regroup. And then, so I've learned to do that in the past few years. Start back off instead of trying harder, which is the problem in the first place. Trying too hard. Back off, and actually, you'll be able to go farther faster. And so, basically, an hour of dabbling with what is just a right, sustainable pace that feels just about right, and it's fun because it's kind of like Zen flow. It's kind of like trying to be at just the right spot, just where it hums. It's just right. We had this sailboat growing up. It was a 25-footer, and it had a keel that would drop down. I forgot what the terminology, the sailing terminology is for that kind of keel, but you could crank it up, and it weighed like 2,000 pounds. And when you get going, you lower the keel for stability, so the boat won't tip over in higher winds. And once you start going fast enough, the cable that is on the tip of the keel, that you use this giant crank to crank the keel up and down, that cable would set up a hum in the water once you get going up to a nice enough speed, and it would just brrr, this real gentle, beautiful humming sound. And I remember when it would happen, my dad would tell my brother and I, my mom, you hear that hum? That means we're at top speed. That's really, really nice. And when you're swimming at just the right pace, with a nice turnover, and you're not straining for air, everything's clicking over really, really good. Your body almost sets up like this hum, and it's really, really cool. And then what you can do is, as you're getting towards the end of the workout, the last few minutes kick it into overdrive and do kind of like 10K race pace, like as if you were running, and let the muscles kind of burn and fatigue a little bit, and then that's it. So what you've gotten is a whole lot of practice at trying to zone in on exactly the right pace and breathing and cadence, and that smooths out your swim stroke. And a nice smooth swim stroke is it's the exact same thing as, you know, when you see somebody cycling that's a poor cyclist. They're not even a cyclist. They're just somebody that's riding their bike down the boulevard, and they're pedaling squares, is what you say, because they're herky-jerky pedaling instead of nice and smooth. And, well, the same thing's happening when you swim. If you don't swim a lot at the right cadence and paces and with smoothness, you're kind of swimming like blocks. You're swimming squares, and it's really inefficient. So you can imagine that if you swim a lot, you start smoothing it out. Well, it takes a lot at a nice clip where it's just set up a nice hum. And then that really helps out your swim stroke. And then at the very end, you do a little bit of overdrive, and that makes you a little bit sore, and you overdid it just a little bit, just the tiniest bit, and that'll make you stronger and faster for next time. And a little bit on volume. Chris Haig and I were talking about this. If you want to get really good at triathlon, figure out the average distances that people train for your, and I think it's better than time, that you do distances that people train to be fast at your event. So like for Olympic, you know, or for half Ironmans. And I can tell you off the top of my head, I know what they are for Ironman, because I'm always thinking about trying to qualify for Kona. And the numbers are a bit scary. You're talking 12,000 to 14,000 yards swimming a week. And then I'll do the running next, even though that's last, because the cycling is such a scary number. Running is 45 to 50 miles a week, kind of depends. And both of those numbers I hit in training on a regular basis. These are peak training weeks, right? But the cycling, 250 miles a week on the bike. And now you're training, you do all of these, you work up to all these in your triathlon training, and now you're talking about this is what people do to qualify for Kona. And this is why you realize so few people qualify for Kona, and so few people with full-time jobs and kids qualify for Kona, that it's really a rarity and very difficult to do. You can shorten the training on the bike, you know, a little bit by trying to do more intervals and stuff like that. A lot of people try to do that because that's a lot of time on the bike. Okay, and I guess let's talk about maple syrup. So last episode, I started using maple syrup, and I wanted to, this may take a couple of entries into the training log to describe it all. Last weekend, I did a mega training block on maple syrup, and I had incredible results where day one I did over 5 hours, and day two I did 5 hours and even a little bit more. And day two I actually did farther and faster than I did day one. And day one was 5 hours. And it's like, holy crap, to do big days back to back and to go slightly faster on day two, it's a really good indicator that what you're doing is working. And a lot of it, most of it has to do with really good training fuel and hydration and recovery. So I want to talk about that right now. So this all got started listening to Endurance Planet's episode with Tawny hosting, and I forgot her name, the lady from Osmo Nutrition, OSMO. And they're talking about hydration and fuel. And I really, really liked this episode because there's a lot of stuff where people go, well, you got to be intuitive, you know, with how much water you drink, stuff like that. And you know what? A lot of us are really screwed up in the head of what's correct, or we get used to feeling one way, and this happens a lot. What's correct, and then you change environments, like you go from cooler weather to a heat wave, and you're like, you're in such the habit that your intuitiveness is bullshit, and it ain't gonna work, and you're gonna freaking die. So you can't be intuitive. You have to actually know and measure and be smart. And once I started doing that kind of stuff, that's when my training actually improved by a ton. So this interview with her was very scientific and very calculated and very informative. I liked it a lot, a whole lot of science in it. And she mentioned offhandedly that if you did liquid fuel, do maple syrup, that it's mostly glucose, and glucose is and I already knew this, glucose is very readily absorbed by the body, and that the fructose that remains in it somehow, for some reason, is bound to the glucose in a way that it doesn't bother your stomach. And the thing that really caught my attention was she said, maltodextrin's fine and all that other stuff, but when you start going long, that'll eventually sit in your gut and sit there and hurt later on as it draws in water in your small intestine. And that's actually exactly what happened to me at last Ironman Texas. Is starting about a third of the way through the run, my intestines started to just hurt. And she said that's the water pressure of it. That's the pressure of it trying to draw water in to continue digesting the maltodextrin, which hasn't digested yet. And maple syrup doesn't do that, she said. Now, I haven't tested it, full on, 7 hours. But I can tell you that when I was using maple syrup on my training days, that when I finished, I felt I was really paying attention to later, like immediately afterwards and later in the day. I felt my guts just felt clean, like no like sludge, no stomach pains, no nothing, just nice and clean and like air, just and light. And that's a really good indicator right there. And I got to run back in the house. We're back home, and I'll pick up with the ratios that I mixed it, the maple syrup, and the where I found it, a little bit about the sourcing of it, and the green tea powder and sea salt that I added to it, which ended up working really, really nicely, and also about just hydration for recovery in general. All right, so I'll be back. Out, dang. All right, I thought I'd record a little bit of what it's like to be in the hole and to be overtrained just a little bit, hopefully. And basically, what happens is you're tired, you're in such the habit of working out, and you get a little bit of exercise addiction probably, that you you still go because it's just a habit, so you start going, and then you're tired, and then you try to get going, and you're lacking the gusto, and it takes extra caffeine and extra carbs to have the energy of what you usually have, and you crave kind of extra naps. And that's exactly where I'm at right now. And last week was a pretty big week, 20 plus hour week, I think. So everything's relative. I have times where I don't train anywhere near this much, and then if I increase the volume to 12 hours, it can kind of implode a little bit. And on the note of exercise addiction, like, we, a lot of us have exercise addiction that do this stuff. I theorize that mine comes from when I was in high school, the latter years of high school, and in college, I smoked about half a pack of cigarettes a day, at least, a pack on weekends a day. And that really messes up your brain function into needing to do something all the time with your hands and with your body. And also drank a bunch and other stuff, and hung out with like crazy dudes. So my stimulation level to like go and need to do something is pretty high. And over time, I figured out that I could replace the cigarettes and crap like that with exercise, which is a much healthier addiction. And it's hard to say whether or not, the cigarette stuff transform me into somebody that needs that all the time, because the smokers need to do something with their hands. You can tell it's such a strong habit where they really messed up their brains. We messed up our brains with that. It's really interesting stuff. Anyway, you got Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. People go in there and they freaking smoke like crazy because they need to do something with themselves, because their habit of drinking, now that they're not doing that, they got to do something else with themselves. But anyway, that's a long tangent. But let's talk about maple syrup, because I'm really enjoying it, and I'm going in slow motion right now, kind of like syrup. So the maple syrup thing, what's really interesting is it's not sticky. There's quite a few things about it that I like. It's not sticky. It's the tiniest bit sticky, but not like you would think, and not like Gatorade, stuff like that, where it dries, whatever. It's runny. And also, it seems like it can be stored at room temperature and get hot and stuff like that, and it won't go bad. It's got some natural preservatives in it or something that don't allow it to, go bad. Because I'll make a Malto and Gatorade, gel thing, my own, and if it's left out, after a couple of days, it's pretty nasty. And so maple syrup has a really good shelf life. And let's see, when you mix it, you say you want to make it thinner, you want to mix it with water or something like that to dilute a drink, then it mixes really, really, really well. You don't have to put it into a blender to mix it with anything. That's really, really nice too. And let's see, what else is a good attribute about it? It comes from old growth forests that supposedly, they say, don't require any fertilizer or anything like that. And so it's a really nice, environmentally friendly product as far as I can tell. It's really cool. And what I found is a good mix of fuel is I add a little bit of sea salt to it for your electrolyte. And it's also, I think it's got a trace of potassium and a lot of magnesium and stuff. And there's different grades. There's AB, maybe C grade. That's like how dark it is. It's how much other stuff it's got in it. Somebody almost rear-ended me. I need to calm down what they're driving. And so it's got other stuff in it, little trace little minerals, stuff like that, which is good for your electrolytes and vitamins and such. Probably iron and stuff like that in it. Strange fact, you have enough iron in your body to make a nail. Hopefully. And also, what I found a cool trick is the Osmo lady, which at some point I'll get her name right, said, to hydrate properly, your water doesn't work unless it's got a little bit, it works a whole lot better if it's got a little bit of carbs, just a tiny, amount of carbs and electrolyte in it. So what I did last weekend that worked so well is I made my water bottles on the bike and on the run. I squirted a little bit of my fuel bottle, right? So I'd make a concentrate fuel bottle of, I was just freaking maple syrup, right? With sea salt and green tea powder, matcha powder, which is caffeine and also good for you. And I'd make a concentrate bottle of that, about 300 calories per hour, and in one bottle, and went on a long bike ride with that. Well, while I'm riding along, and I got the Aero bottle between my arms, the BTA between the arms bottle, I would, every time that I would refill that bottle in front of me, I refill it while I'm riding, or when I stopped at the post office that's got a water fountain outside, I would squirt a little bit of my fuel bottle, my concentrate fuel bottle, into the aero bottle, the empty water bottle that I'm about to drink. And then as I fill the water bottle with water, it's mixing the fuel concentrate that I put in there. And we're talking like a tablespoon or so of that in there with the water. And now all of a sudden I've got water that's got a little bit of carbs and a little bit of electrolyte in it. And that hydrates you a whole lot better. And I think, and I did that repeatedly, on the bike ride and on my long runs. And I think that was critical to staying hydrated and happy all weekend long. I weighed myself like I should every day. And I only went down like a pound or two over the period of the workouts. And then I would eat and drink more and get my weight right back up to where it was supposed to be. And that's really good Ultraman style training, because you got to do multiple day things. So you got to learn to stay hydrated. And that's what I was doing. I was practicing staying hydrated with this. And the fact that the fuel that I was using for my working out, I could also use on the fly to create water that was going to hydrate me better was a really, really smart trick. Okay, so let's talk just for a second about matcha powder. I order it off of Amazon, and I think it's called Kiss Me Organics, and do like half a spoonful is like a strong cup of green tea. It's just powder. I use culinary grade. There's ceremonial grade, which is more expensive and probably tastes a little bit better, it's fancier, but culinary grade works great. And green tea has some really nice properties to it. It gives you caffeine without lots of jitters, and then like coffee does. And it's antimicrobial, so it'll keep your bottles a little bit cleaner. And also, people that drink green tea have fewer cavities, studies have shown, because I think it has some traces of fluoride in it as well. So the antimicrobial and the fluoride keep your teeth cleaner from getting cavities. And green tea it's the tea leaf ground up, so it's got fiber in it, which is actually good for you. And it's green, so it's got chlorophyll in it, which is good for you as well. Like a whole, coffee's fine, good stuff for you, but coffee's, acidic and eats up your teeth a little bit, stains your teeth. And this does the opposite, and it gives you a more even dose of caffeine. So I'll make a water bottle, fill it about a third to probably not a half, but whatever, maple syrup. That's like a 3.5 hour water bottle right there. And put in about 2/3 of a spoonful of matcha powder. And that's a lot, but I don't know. It kind of depends on you. And then like 6 grams of sea salt. And put it in there, add a little bit of water, shake it up real good. And then then fill it up with water all the way to the top and shake it some more. And I've got a 3.5 hour water bottle right there. It's pretty sweet, man. Really good. And I've also noticed that when you haven't drank from it in a little while, and you drink from it again, it tastes good. You're like, man, that was really nice. Instead of like, oh yeah, more orange, or whatever, or bleh, I'm tired of this. You're like, man, that tastes good. So anyway, I'm still exploring like how much it, trying to find it for how much it costs and stuff like that. There's a group that's put together maple syrup from Vermont for athletes, and like gel packs and stuff like that. And I believe they're called Untapped. And you ought to check them out. And I got to go into WTERK and eat some eggs and some carbs, and try to get some energy back, and consider which I need to take a day off, obviously. I think y'all can tell. All right, out, bing. All right, just real quick, a couple of things. First off, I was looking at the Ultra Baby course, and it's the same distance as Ultraman, and I used the Strava planner, route planner, to come up with the route, because the Garmin one doesn't tell you the elevation gain. Garmin Connect, you can build a route, And I don't know about Moves Count, the Sunto one. That one has a beautiful route maker, by the way, the Sunto Moves Count one. And but Garmin Connect does not summarize elevation gain, the thing that matters the most. Right after distance is how far up am I going. But anyway, the Strava one does. And so I was playing around with that, learning something new. And my day 2 bike route has 5,400 and something feet of elevation gain. And I compared that to Ultraman, and I was like, oh, that's a lot, you know? And I compared that to Ultraman Hawaii. Ultraman Hawaii has 8,000 and such elevation gain, so another 3,000 on top of mine, but although that's spread over like a really long ways, that's 172 miles. So it would be noticeable, but not terribly noticeable. And you know what? I had a feeling of relief. I was like, okay, I'm like, the route I've got, I can keep. I like the route. And I'm like, okay, the route, even though it's hilly, I was worried it was just like too hilly. And then I go, nope, the route I've got is good because even though it's hilly, it's not as hilly as the real Ultraman. And that, so I would have to actually find a different route with even more hills, not less hills, fewer hills, but more hills to be more like Ultraman. And then I'm like, it's plenty hilly for me. And then I also thought my mindset while I'm actually riding would be, you know, when it starts to suck after, God, who knows how many miles, 60 miles, 100 miles, 150 miles, you know, when I want to just die. I'd rather just die, just ride my bike into a ditch instead of keep going. You know you're done mentally when you start hoping something goes wrong so you can quit. Anyway, please God, let me have a flat tire so I have a reason to quit. Please God. And in my mind I was like, oh, I'll have a cool mantra in my mind. At least this is not as hard as Ultraman Hawaii. So there was that. And also, in both routes that I picked out, I have an alternate route. I actually ended up having the exact same elevation. And then there was something else. Earlier I was recording, you know, and sounded all dopey because I was tired and whatever. I caught a nap over lunch for about half an hour, and I feel way better. And it just goes to show the power of, I'm not going to say the power of napping, the power of not getting enough sleep or getting enough rest, what it does to you. And all this morning and through lunch, I was craving just crap food because your body's like, I need energy. I don't care. In fact, I need crap energy, like crap fuel, cheap fuel to give me just crazy energy to overpower this sleepiness that's killing me. And so you start craving just junk food and everything. And it's from stress and not getting enough sleep. And I caught a nap at lunch, and this whole afternoon I've just felt fine. I've been able to focus, and I'm eating healthy. I just ate a banana, and yeah, it's really, really good. And I'm not anywhere near as hungry, and it just goes to show people that are sleep deprived actually overeat. Which is really interesting. And a funny thing is if you're asleep, you can't eat. That's one way to cut back on calories. Anyway, I thought I'd give you the elevation update. Day 1 of Ultraman, the real one in Hawaii, they climbed the side of a volcano. Over 90 miles, they go 7,600 feet. 7,600 feet. Up. It's just nuts. Anyway, we don't have any volcanoes where I live, thank God. So I don't know. Oh, that'd be kind of cool to have one. Be interesting. And so I don't. Day 1 of our Ultra Baby is going to be a hell of a lot more mellow than that. But anyway, that's it. Bang. All right, leaving the pool, heading to W to the ERK. Get some work done. Really interesting stuff. I sat around and didn't do too much and waited for my systems to come back online because I was so tired, and it's hard to do. But if you're patient, you can tell everything starts clicking again. And I was on Zwift, which is a video game that you play on the trainer on the bike. I highly recommend it, ZWIFT. It took me a while to warm up to it, and then eventually now it's a habit, and I like it a lot. And there's this big hill climb on it. And this other guy, you're playing with other people around the world. And this other guy was drafting off me for like 10 minutes, and then we got to the end with the big hill climb, and he tried to accelerate and take the win at the top of the hill, and I was like, I was putting out like 400 and some watts, going, dude. And I could tell I got to the top, and that was the end. I went extra at the end. I was like, man, I am energized. This is great. And then I swam this morning and felt like doing intervals. It takes a lot of years of training, I think. If you're kind of training on your own and learning this stuff, even if you have a coach telling you what to do for you, like it takes a long time for you to learn on your own, actually, what makes you, when you're tired and when you should do intervals and when you shouldn't and such. And I'm starting to throw in intervals that are low cadence on the swim, bike, and run, and just pure power. Because I know that during the Ultra Baby, as I get further and further into it, my cadence is going to slow down because I'm going to be tired, and I need to be able to put out power at a low cadence. And so I'm working on that. And I think that's about it. Yeah, mostly just being patient with energy and being really attentive to, only doing hard stuff when you feel like you're kind of like cracked out a little bit. That's when you do the hard stuff, when you're like really excited and amped. And then when you don't feel good, don't. And also, I got an IKEA standing desk delivered to work yesterday afternoon, and some coworkers and I put it together. And I still don't have my computer on it or anything like that, but it's got the electronic toggle switch on it that raises and lowers the entire desk, which is pretty cool. And I'm looking forward to using that, being on my feet a little bit more. And there was literally a squirrel moment. A squirrel just ran out in the street and then ran back again. I almost had to slam on my brakes. Anyway, that's it for now. Everything's looking good. Talk to y'all later. Out, bang. All right, I'm out running. I got the phone in a Ziploc, so excuse the clicky of the plastic touching the mic. But anyway, I'm out on a longer run, 2-hour run. I just interviewed Bruckner Chase, which was so inspirational. Don't become your own worst enemy. That's so good. I need that. I think we all need that. I'm out on a country road. I biked 80 point something miles this morning. Just going easy. The 80's kind of new, so I usually do 70 to 75. So I'm tacking on 5 more miles. 3 hours and 48 minutes, I think. 21.2 miles per hour, riding in the fog for the first half with Daniel. The guy is a machine. We ride side by side on these quiet country roads out in the middle of nowhere. You can hear a car coming forever. And saw a dead bobcat. Got hit yesterday. Sad. But I still stopped and took a picture of it and sent it to Kai and Emily, so they could see with my foot next to it how big this thing is and the amazing wildlife we have around here. So dead bobcat, bad, very sad, quite an amazing creature, but I'm trying to make something out of it. The beautiful spots all on its underside. Anyway, big too. The tail is longer than I thought it was. The tail is probably like 6-7 inches long.
In my mind, they're always like a couple inches. But I wanted to get in this little recording. I tried Scratch, which is a cousin of Osmo, in my water bottle, and it didn't work today. Backed up in my stomach, so that's no good. Went back to plain water and then my maple syrup fuel, and that started working great. Even power throughout. And actually, I feel really good. Somebody suggested for my plantar fasciitis in my left foot. God, what's it called? Active release therapy. What you do is you press down on the muscle and the tendon upstream from the problem area, and then you flex the problem area, and that makes the muscle work back and forth under pressure, under a pinpoint, like where you're pressing with your thumb. This is one way to do it. And man, it worked. Thank you. I forgot your name because I'm running. But my heel feels pretty dang good. And my heart rate strap is giving out. It's reading really high, 200 beats per minute, while I'm sitting here jogging and talking. So we know that ain't right. But another thing, scaling back the effort just a tad. It allows you to feel so much better and then get in the volume. So we're looking for almost 6 hours today. If I run 2 hours, okay. And I always talk about thresholds. You step over a threshold and then you got a new world. And you push the threshold of volume up correctly, you'll notice that your speed goes up with it. Your easy speed. And I can feel that with the slight increase of volume, I actually feel good. Like it's not a problem yet. Today's Saturday, we still have tomorrow. And I also want to mention the endurance athlete's secret weapon is the potato, the baked potato. Man, you get in one of those every day, they really do load you up. So, baked potato, if it's a bigger one, 5 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes in the microwave. Poke it clean, almost clean through with a knife 4 or 5 times, or else it'll explode. Eat the skin to slow down the starch. Add some fat to it to slow it down a little bit too. So I do guacamole and sriracha sauce and sea salt and maybe pepper. Or cheese maybe, if you like. And supposedly you do the same thing with sweet potato, but I like just a regular potato. And potatoes really don't taste like anything. You can add all kinds of stuff. Worcestershire, barbecue, sauce. But anyway, I thought I'd give an update. Almost a 6-hour training day. Still got a lot of running left. Oh, Kai was biking with me at first, and we were going over hand signals for the run portion of the Ultra Baby. See, the whole key do this crazy long stuff, you want to make it so that even if you don't race on race day, let's say something happened, like your bike never shows up at the race off the plane or something, you're still a better person or improved your life somehow on the way there. You know, the race is just the icing on the cake. It's just the celebration. So these father-son bonding moments working on hand signals are priceless, right? What if we don't use them for this race? We use them for another race. What if I don't make it to the run, you know? I wreck on the bike. Ultra baby's over. We still worked on hand signals we can use on down the road. Imagine me in my deathbed when I'm 80 and he's 50 and we're doing hand signals to each other. So, like, okay, water, well, is everything okay? It's just thumbs up, back, if he asks. I told him he needs to ask me every once in a while. And I also said, don't ask me for stuff that you don't have, because that's just mean, and I'll get mad. And by day 3, I won't think a lot of things are funny anymore. Just warning you. It's like, okay. So, thumbs up. Is everything's fine? Yes, is everything good? Thumbs up is yes. One finger up is water. 2 fingers up is ice water. Middle finger, you got a big kick out of that. It's just ice. Which it'll almost always be ice. And then ring finger. That's a Nine Inch Nails song, by the way. It's really good. Ring finger is salt. Pinky is fuel. Thumbs down is things aren't going well. Or no. No, wait. Shake the head is no. Which is really hard while running. Try to run and then shake your head left and right. Like no. It's kind of funny. Fist pump is heck yeah. What happens is on the run, you don't feel good, you don't feel like talking. You can do hand signals, and you can do hand signals from way far away. And also while throwing up or laying on the ground. But I dragged him out of the house. We got internet now and TV. Sitting there watching TV. But the GoPro channel on the Roku and probably other things, holy cow, it's really cool. It gets you motivated to go out and do stuff. You want to inspire your kids, tell them to put it on the GoPro channel and then go get on their bike. All right, that's it. I gotta run. All right, out, big.
All right, we need to go ahead and wrap up this show. Whew, that was the biggest weekend of training I think I've ever done in my entire life. 2 days back to back, 6 hours. And what I noticed is on day 2, I was faster than day 1. And this is the second weekend in a row where that's happened, where day 2 is faster than day 1, even though they're both the same size. And on day 2, actually adding a little bit more volume, a little bit more distance, a little bit more time, whatever. And it has everything to do with paying attention to hydration and keeping the pace mellow. And I got to tell you, it's really, really rewarding to be on day 2 and find that you're cruising along just as good as you were the day before, and that you're just the tiniest bit faster and in the tiniest bit better mood. And 80, Saturday I did 80 miles on the bike, and Sunday I did 85 in the same amount of time. Well, just a little bit longer. And then for running, my average pace on the run was probably about 15 seconds to 30 seconds per mile faster. On day 2, the Sunday bike ride, I got off the bike and was in a fantastic mood. Was really bouncing off the walls and happy. And then we went and ran errands together, getting Kai stuff, clothes for, we're going to John Hirsch's and Christine Lynch's wedding up in Boston pretty soon. And went by the bike shop, went by the running store, like different things. And I wasn't extremely grumpy, about going and running errands. That's a really good sign of good hydration and fueling during a workout. And it just became just really nice, just going out there and finding the volume and the distance. And actually, I also found myself looking forward to the workout instead of not looking forward to it, and starting a little bit earlier both days because I was, I had my crap together. I'm like, all right, let's go. Might as well go ahead and get it over now. And I'll have a little bit more time later if I finish earlier. Maybe I'll be able to get in a little bit more distance if I start now. And that's different. And a lot of it has to do with careful volume, just going easy and just adding it in does. There's a saying about a rocket uses 99% of its energy. Who knows if that's actually true? But correcting course, left, right. I wouldn't say it's 99%, but it spends 99% of its time going the wrong way. That's definitely true, and it never goes totally straight. But what happens is, what I've noticed is when you go long and easy, it gives you time to learn constant course corrections. And if you're going easy enough, those going the wrong way, let's say with fueling or with fueling or hydration are probably the biggest ones. Your errors aren't catastrophic, right? Because you're not going that hard. You can go, and this was my case totally. My case is I overfuel. And so I was like, my stomach's not feeling good. I'm just cruising along just easy. So let's bring down the fuel a little bit. And just drink water instead, right? No penalty because I'm just going easy. And it works, and time, when you do it over and over and over and over again, you learn. Each time you actually learn a little bit. And so that's why I'm saying the long workouts repeated, as close together as you can get them day after day or every few days apart. You can take those course corrections and go, okay, if I'm feeling, basically it's this, if I feel like A, I should do B. Now A is really complicated. Your stomach can hurt, you could feel thirsty, or you feel fine but you feel thirsty. Like there's all kinds of combinations of stuff, or you're going uphill or you're going downhill, and there's just a million combinations of A, I feel like this or this is happening, and then and then you have to try different combinations of B, and then you have to remember them. But eventually, in the end, what happens is you get graceful with your responses, and you don't waste time doing the wrong thing. And because you're doing the right thing more frequently, then doing the right thing makes you faster, stronger, more resilient, so that the next time when you do make a slight error, it doesn't bother you so much, A person that runs a 6-minute mile it doesn't, as an easy pace, well, probably not hardly anybody. Let's say a 7-8 minute mile is an easy pace. Doesn't struggle with a little bit of a running error in a marathon. They're still going to finish fast and well. And the better athlete you become because of training, good training, little errors don't bother you so much. So anyway, I think that's about it for this biggest training load. I really wish that I was training like this sooner. We've got to leave town 2 weeks before the Ultra Baby, and that's bad planning, but there's nothing I can do about it. That's life. You know, there was other times like this week where I had to miss a workout or whatever because Kai needed help with his math homework, or, you know, and it's like, oh, well, got to do that, you know. And the other thing is I got to find out today in the news, the dam, it's an earthen dam, the dam for the lake that I want to do the swim in, they found there's cracks appearing in it. And then I thought, I got to keep my eye on that. And then my buddy Chris posted on Facebook, Emily saw it because I don't like going to Facebook. Emily saw it, that they're lowering the water level at the lake. And I'm like, ooh, what's that about? So I need to stay on top of that. In worst case scenario, we got to do the swim in a pool, which I am not happy about whatsoever. I really want to do it open water, but I guess we'll see. We'll have to see. That's the only lake available really to do it in. But anyway, we'll get it done. Not that worried about it. All right, everybody, stay safe out there. And if you found any of the training tips on this episode helpful, especially maple syrup, for sure works really well for me. That's another thing I wanted to mention. The whole time I'm riding along and running, and I'm, you know, doing so much better than before. I think a lot of it has to do with maple syrup has a higher error tolerance. I think I might have mentioned that before. If I overfuel a little bit with maple syrup, it's not the end of the world. It you know, my stomach kind of hurts just a little bit, and I just drink water for a while, and then it goes away. It's not like getting sick and sick and sick. Oh, and then also, I felt pretty tired this morning, and I realized that I didn't weigh myself last night before I went to bed. So then I didn't drink as much water as I should. I lost 3-4 pounds overnight since the middle of the day yesterday after my bike ride. So after my run, I don't know. You know, my run burned up a lot of water, and that's the other tip is big training days, weigh yourself to stay on top of your hydration. I guess you could get good at it and know over time. I'm still learning, and that was a good lesson. So I woke up this morning feeling kind of off, you know, kind of bleh. So I ate something and then went back to bed. I weighed myself and I was like, oh, that's a little low. And just by a few pounds. But so also sprinkling salt on my food and on my water all weekend, and that really helped a lot. That was nice. And yeah, anyway, that makes your water sticky, makes it want to stick with you. Anyway, oh, and then I've got the standing desk, so we've got that going on. But the if you ever find you want to help support ZenTri, head on over to zentriathlon.com and help support the show on the left-hand side. If you found any of these training tips helpful, and yeah, support the show. But I also want to say I have a feeling today that I feel really fulfilled and content. And it's because figuring out nutrition for long course and long distance training has always kind of eluded me, and I always felt like I should have better results. And I'm like, I wonder if you know, I've got things kind of solved or improved never have everything solved. But I've got things improved where I can actually really go out and enjoy myself and not really fret and fuss over an unknown. And that's very relaxing, actually. Very, very relaxing. And I figure by the time of, Ironman Canada next summer, that a whole bunch of us are doing, my friends and I, that I'll be able to really get in some great training and building up to it, be able to get in the long days and whatever, and actually get that done. And big props to Emily. I asked her before I started training for all this stuff, I said, please be supportive of me and don't make me battle for the time to do this. It'll be over, and then we'll spend lots of time doing family stuff and all that. And Emily and Kai have been just amazing with letting me go 3.5 hours, 4 hours for bike rides. Also, a repeatable course is huge. I go and do the same bike course every time, and I'll add just a little bit every time to increase the volume. And I'll add another loop on my run. These little cul-de-sac looking things, or another little out and back on the bike. And for increasing volume, that's a really, really, really safe thing to do. Same course, so you got the same water stops, and you know what to change and what to do safely. Because once you get one distance solved, it's not that big of a deal to add just the tiniest bit more. And I got to say, that's huge with improving fitness and distance, is just tiny little add-ins. Just add a little bit more and add a little bit more. And that's how easy volume can actually improve you a lot. The whole thing of doing minimalist training and doing intervals and such, which is fantastic, there's a lot of risk in there of overdoing or underdoing it, and then trying to compensate. And if you're doing just the volume and you just keep repeating, that's the whole consistency thing that you hear pros and pro coaches talk about. You just consistent day in, day out, and just add another 5 minutes here and another 5 minutes there, or another hill here. That really, really helps. And I've got people that I ride with sometimes that are like, let's go ride something different. I'm like, nope. We're riding the same thing because I know where all the water stops are, and I just want to add just a little bit more time and increase the volume. So, anyway, that's it. Everybody stay safe out there. Work the uphills, cruise the downhills, and keep the rubber side down. Out.